really think you have a chance against us, Mr. Cowboy?
Hey, motherfucker. What you like to do?
Oh, I don't know. Play chess. Screw.
Well, let's play chess.
They give off to Jonathan Taylor. Jump cutting his way. Close to the goal line. He's in there. Touchdown. I-N-D-Y. Jonathan Taylor.
Wheeler finds Clark from the logo.
Here's Halliburton into the front court. Mishandled it, but gets a shot. Hits it. Hits it.
John, I have never been better to be on the air with you here in Indianapolis, a place where so many of my dreams have come true.
The Ride with JMV on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Hey, welcome in. Show on a Wednesday. Thank you all for joining us. Caleb is over there. I am John, and I am right here. I am a little bit upset because I am not out on the road at any point this week. That is a bummer. You know how much I love being out on the road. Alas, we are not out on the road this week, but we are in here, and we are going to create for you some incredible content over the course of the afternoon. So how many of you stayed up to watch the Fever? I'm telling you, Caitlin Clark, as we've talked about, feels better, and then telling everybody to just let her play hoop, and she wants to play hoop and not jack around with all this other stuff. That helps too. I didn't have to hear anything about the head coach not knowing anything last night with Stephanie White. Remember all those clowns about a month ago? They're all over me about the head coach. The head coach, hell, this was just last week, has to absorb the technicals. Yeah, whatever. It is wacky. I'm going to give her credit where credit is due. I thought she was awesome last night because she was awesome last night. That wasn't easy either because the Storm had a red-hot player, and they stink, but we saw the last time out how well they played against the Fever. 105-95. And the other thing that I love, and you know this to be true, I'll talk about defense sometimes as if I really care about it, but you have to even it out a little bit. But I love the offense. When they go 100 or above, I am down with it. Caitlin Clark, 32-7, meaning she is sharing the basketball as well. Leah Boston's injury certainly was concerning, but that and Kelsey Mitchell's fourth quarter, that's what you're looking for, fans around here. That's what you're looking for, and that will also keep the idiots away. Seriously, it's like Lysol for the idiots. Like, spray that and the idiots stay away from it. You can't really say anything stupid and try to play off of something you either A, don't know anything about, or B, don't care anything about. Just trying to benefit yourself, the verbal grifters. Yeah, you don't have to do that. You got to stay away if you play and, again, reach the expectations. And I think right now at 18-10, this is more like it. Would you agree? Hopefully you do. Friday night, next time up for the Fever. Fever on the road against the Far, as they say in Southern Indiana. Not the fire, but the Far. Well, that's Far. 10 o'clock on something called Ion. Friday night. I'm going to get to coverage and channels and levels of jackassery that sports teams and leagues make everybody jump through to enjoy their product, and why I understand the finances. I mean, I live and breathe in this era. I know the finances, but you're going to end up driving people away if you jack around much more. And that kind of does equate to Ion. I'll get to that coming up in a minute. Daniel Jones, I guess, looked good. I wasn't up there, but there were various reports they look good. I don't know. I think just like moving around is good. Uninjured is good. Being out there is good. So that is fantastic. Playmaking ability in the secondary from the corners that are going to have to offer that up without question. In Mooney Ward and in Sauce Gardner. That has to happen. That has to happen because you can't count on what is conventionally what you do count on defensively is pressure to squeeze the offense of the opposition into mistakes, and then your secondary takes advantage of those mistakes. It's kind of, as I've mentioned before, backwards with this group. But normally it has been. I know the morning show was out there a little bit earlier today. I know Jake was out there a little bit earlier today, but the conversation about that, I mean, really, it is way too early to get that deeply into it. But as long as you hear Daniel Jones things, and he's moving around, and he maintains health, and nothing gets compromised, I think we're all good. As long as we don't have stories like Shamar Stewart carted off with a left leg injury, those are the things that that's just awful. Somebody asked me earlier today or last night, I can't remember. No, it was earlier today. You know who it was? In fact, it was our good friend Kyle Kinnett of Bullseye, bullseyeeventgroup.com, because we are not too far away to fire up the parties before every Colts home game, bullseyeeventgroup.com. And we were talking about that and some of the new things that he is adding. He has also added a new market, and that new market is a rabid one. That would be Buffalo. I think 7 in all right now with Bullseye. Bullseyeeventgroup.com. If you want to make sure you're a part of the party coming up in week number 1, that would be a good idea. But Buffalo is a brand new market for Bullseye and for Kyle. And while they do kind of wallow in disappointment, because that's just Buffalo in general, and I think around here you can fully understand the disappointment that Buffalo more times than not has had to live with. But while they've been disappointing, the expectations are still clearly high. Hey, by the way, look back here behind me, Caleb. That thing's not going to stay on, is it?
Listen, yesterday we could
fell
blame Andy.
on. Hey, Black Days right here. Soundgarden shout out. I can do a little Pearl Jam Black if you want me to as well. All right. Yeah, and this is not your fault. This is not even Eddie Garrison's fault for jacking around with it yesterday. We had... And I'll get back to the point I was making in just a second if somebody reminds me to get back on the path. But we had a significant power outage about, 40 minutes ago. It was like Whopper. Whopper from War Games. So I went down the hall and this was all the stations. It wasn't just us. I got Professor Falcon, and we got Broderick, and we got them to play tic-tac-toe. And we got Whopper to learn. Learn, damn it, learn. And we got back on track. I don't know if anybody, I'm sure you noticed that if you're, hopefully you're listening to Rich Eisen, because I need somebody to bridge the gap to me, by God. But for some reason, this TV, it comes on, and you need my handsome grill behind my head the way that it is. I mean, you're going to get the live action handsome grill, and then you get the one from about a year and a half ago behind me. But it just went off. So I think we've fallen upon black days, or as the late, great Chris Cornell sang for Soundgarden, fell on black days, right behind me. Right there. I think we can get away with this. As long as we're still on the air, broadcasting, and all this other stuff, I think we can get away with this thing malfunctioning. You agree?
Well, I agree, and it's better. There was a time, John, when there was a different photo of you behind you. I think
was it the fat one?
You would have been all right with the TV screen going dark on that. But now, I mean, you got a pretty face up there. So I feel like we need to get
that up there. The handsome and chiseled features have to be happening. Yeah, the fat one. When I said, yeah, you know what? I don't think I need to lose any weight, but I'll try anyway. Good idea. Good plan that I had right there. But no, seriously, if you see that behind us, if that is the only thing that goes haywire today, that is good. Because I know the engineers around here and the programmers and such, they have been dealing with a lot in the last 40 minutes. In fact, there is absolutely zero way, and I don't mind, there's zero way that it's cooling down in here right now. I believe the heat is on, which is cool. So I may be shirtless in the 5 o'clock hour. Hopefully you guys don't mind. Hopefully you don't mind, because that may happen in the 5 o'clock hour. But let me go ahead and wiggle back to the point I was making with Kyle Kinnett of Bullseye this morning. We were talking about front runners in both the AFC and the NFC this season because we were talking about getting started, embarking upon the run with bullseyeeventgroup.com. And I had mentioned Buffalo, and he had said, well, that's our new market. And while they remain incredibly up-tempo excited, at the same time, they are very guarded because of the level of disappointments or the fact that they have the guy in the NFL, and simply put, they cannot get over the hump. There are so many stages of disappointment. It doesn't always have to be like what you've been living with for the past 10 years. Most of the last 10 years. It doesn't have to be just that. It can also be a high level of winning, but it doesn't really give you ultimately what is necessary, and that is a championship. And Buffalo to me is right up there. And this is me right now, obviously, and that's easy. I think in the AFC, I think Buffalo is easy. In the NFC, the Rams, I'm sure Seattle's going to be good again. And I don't know who's going to end up winning the quarterback battle in Minnesota. And I was widely against any flirtation with Kyler Murray. Remember, we talked about this in the offseason as a part of the free agency period. Because we had a lot of guys that called in here and said, hey, I really like Kyler Murray. What do you think about Shane Steichen and Kyler Murray? Well, we had evidence last year, and I know it was a short-term piece of evidence, but we had evidence of how well the head coach and the quarterback do perform together. That was real. I don't know how real it's going to be if Alec Pierce doesn't get back. I don't know how real it's going to be if you don't add another wide receiver, because I simply put, do not think that they have enough. I don't know how real it's going to be if they don't figure out how to continue to use Tyler Warren in the capacity which is necessary. But they have pieces. And while I don't downplay the loss of Michael Pittman Jr., you can look at his production. You can look at that. And listen, it is not high level. But you worry about taking anything of value away from a team that wasn't any good at the end, a team that didn't make the postseason, a team that didn't sniff their goals. You always worry about that. I worry about that. You should worry about that. And then obviously it is the health. But getting back to Kyler Murray for a moment, I do kind of wonder how he and Kevin O'Connell, how they mesh. Are you with me on that at all? If they do, if they don't, and there's another thing, if he can stay healthy, I just kind of wonder. The Minnesota dynamic is interesting to me.
And the Colts do play there this year in late October.
It's interesting to me.
I think
who would you go in the NFC with as an outlier? I went with Minnesota as an outlier.
The team that in the NFC that I have no idea what to expect from is Washington, another team the Colts will play this year. That's the London game. Because I don't know if they're as bad as last year. Yeah. I know they got ravaged by injuries. They're as good as the year before, and they made the NFC Championship. That
That's
team
supposed to have a quarterback.
Exactly.
And if he's healthy, he should be a quarterback.
But to your point on Kevin O'Connell and Kyler Murray, like, I think 3 years ago, people would have been excited about that pairing, especially with Kyler kind of and how he played early in his career. But now you kind of wonder how good he actually is. I still think it could work, but yeah, I mean, definitely a dynamic that'll be interesting to follow.
He had Dallas as the dark horse. And it always seems to me like everybody has Dallas as that. Everybody always thinks, well, this is going to be a year for the Cowboys. Now, he's not riding that particular level of logic, but I think the Rams are an easy choice. Seattle is an easy choice. There are a lot of, I think, easy choices going down right now. But to me, Minnesota would be a bit of an outlier. People are going to talk about Chicago Bears, I would imagine, maybe even Philadelphia somewhere in there as well. But those are the things we were discussing prior to. And again, bullseyeeventgroup.com and the Colts VIP tailgate will fire back up, not in the preseason, but week number 1 against Baltimore. Just make sure you're a part of that. It is going to be a fantastic year, regardless of what happens inside of Lucas Oil Stadium. It's always a fantastic time with bullseyeeventgroup.com. But we were talking about that and what you have to stay away from, sidestep, and then what you have to do. And it's not like that other teams I just mentioned don't have a variety of questions to answer. You're going to have to answer that on game day. But the Colts do seem like that they have more than your average team out there has to answer, and that's to just stay competitive. Or better yet, survive the first 5 weeks of the season, which is incredibly daunting. Thoughts on that coming up. So I saw this a little bit earlier. I don't know too much. I may rely upon the younger generation, and Caleb Zuver is here to back up the younger generation. It is DAZN. I've not heard, honestly, DAZN.
Let's just
in
go
big
with that.
block letters. I have no idea what that is. Do you have any idea what DAZN is?
From my understanding, it is a England media company that is now, and you can get into this and explain it, but is now starting to buy up broadcast TV rights for specific teams and that are here in the States now. But I think they've done a lot of like tennis, some of the more international sports broadcasting stuff. But now it looks like they're entering professional sports here in the U.S.
I guess a couple of things come to mind. And I was talking to Jake with the Love Heating and Air crossover a little bit earlier today, if you heard that. And I feel as if we are the same way. Sometimes we make it way too damn hard. I'm out there too. I'll turn my radio on. I know where we can be heard and where it's a struggle for us to be heard. And I also, much like you, think it's ridiculous. The club has to be all inclusive because everybody else's club is. But you have to be able to add. You have to be, to me, you have to be all inclusive and you have to be as elementary as possible for everybody. So we'll see where this goes. The article came from the Sports Business Journal, sportsbusinessjournal.com, and Austin Karp, he pens the article that says, DAZN is going big on local sports, starting with the New York market. Gotham sports teams, Knicks, Rangers, Islanders, Devils, Sabres, Yankees, eventually, and the Nets will see streaming only migrate to DAZN. So does that mean only streaming for a variety of games? See, this is what I have to know. Like last year, I know, or let's just say in the past, you guys hated FanDuel. And I know that FanDuel wasn't great, but I didn't have an issue with it. I had DirecTV, and the thing poked right in every time I wanted to watch the game. I just want to be able to watch the game. And Jake made the point to me, hey, you know, we are the radio home, and I want you to listen to the radio, but at the same time, I want to know that I can go home and watch the game, and I'm not going to have to go through any FUBAR to see it. So I don't feel good about, well, there may be, you know, the occasional game that you absolutely have to stream. And sure, I'll have to start streaming if that's the case. So will that be involved with the full court package? Will it be available on direct? All these are questions if indeed this comes to fruition. We don't even know. But we also know that the Timberwolves, the Cavaliers, the Spurs, and the Grizzlies, along with the Pacers, by Austin Karp in this article, have also been mentioned. And we've often wondered exactly how we're going to be able to get visually the Pacers content this season. I pumped up this season like no other. My expectations are incredibly high. The last thing I want to have to do is jack around with having go 19 different directions to watch it. I know, it's great. I love the radio. I'll listen to it. Mark Boyle does a tremendous job, the best, for sure. But I like to watch things, too. And I want things that are watchable. I want things in my market to be easy. Sometimes I don't think the Fever are easy. They're all over the map. You throw a dart at the dartboard on what night they're going to be when and where and why, and it is a complete pain in the ass. I can't be the only one that has ass pain from it. It is. I know that it's easy, and I know that I'm old, and I know all you guys think I'm a curmudgeon about this. Hey, listen, I'll go along. I have lived with DirecTV for how many years now, paying like $300+, and hell, I don't even get porn. I pay monthly an incredible amount just for the peace of mind. It's almost like it's like when I go get my tax, I'm paying for this peace of mind. I don't know how often I get peace of mind out of it. It's kind of bullcrap. But I'm paying. I want to pay for peace of mind. All right? I got enough stuff to worry about. I don't have to worry about, directionally how I'm going to find any of the games that not only do I have to watch, but hell, I'm invested too. I want to watch. And the problem is, you'll have me. You just reel me in, and there I'm going to be. Others, not so easy. Others will go away, and others may not come back, may not return. You have to be very careful about how you jack around with this situation. And again, I don't even know the situation. I just know that it can't be any port in the storm. It can't be just to save money. I've said the same thing about the Colts, too. I've often kind of wondered about why are you going away from Grand Park in Westfield? You saw it up there. It was like an hour and a half, 90 minutes or so of time where a lot of people that don't get the opportunity to go to the games get to go up there, and you take the kids, and it's a family. It's a great event, and the late owner absolutely loved it, and there's no way the late owner would have made this decision, which would lead you to believe this decision was made to go over to the complex, not out of convenience for next year, but because of monetary concerns. All right? Disposable income for the average viewer and the average fan out there is incredibly difficult, and I'm right there with you. You got to make this as easy as possible. And it can't be just one of those any ports in the storm type of situation. Oh, well, hey, they're willing to do it. Hey, this group from England. And again, maybe they're great. Maybe it will agree. And I will tell you if it's great, because there is no better gauge out there than me, because you know how pissy I get if it isn't. No better gauge. I will tell you if it works. I will tell you honestly if it doesn't. But as much as I love radio and Boyle and Eddie and Pat, I can't forget about Chris and Quinn and JJ and Eddie on TV and Pat's grill in the locker room after the games interviewing people. I can't forget about that. But it's got to be visual, and it has to be easy. Has to be easy. And there are different levels of easy. I've often said this, as archaic as AM radio is, and I know that to be the case, and hey, they're not even putting it in cars anymore or whatever is said. I know this to be true. I know in the fall, back during harvest time, back when the AM wasn't sitting on top of a decrepit building that tried to sell downtown of the Circle right now that they're never going to sell, when it wasn't broadcasting with about 5 watts in your cottage, when it was a flamethrower, it was always awesome because I had people all over the state that were out and they were in their combine and they were in the fields, and they just hit a button and there we were. One button. They didn't care how archaic it was. They didn't care how it sounded. They didn't need stereophonic sound. They didn't need to be able to comment moving along in a column beneath. They just wanted the content. And they were allowed the company by that. You have to make it easy. If you don't, you will drive people away. You cannot afford in this climate to drive people away. So hopefully this all works out. That is why I think we all need to be a little bit more educated. Austin Karp had the article. Austin Karp of the Sports Business Journal will join us coming up at the bottom of the hour. Mike Penrose has for like 30 plus years been the AD at Lawrence North. I talked about the 30-year celebration of the Mick. And we talked about that last week. We're going to bring that back up from an LN angle over decades and how those decades have changed. Mike's going to join us coming up at the top of the hour. Pat Boylan, voice of the Fever, bottom of the 4 o'clock hour. Bowen, who I'm assuming was up at practice and saw everything go okay with Daniel Jones, saw the secondary make some plays. And I'm wondering about the wide receiving core, if that's going to be enough, and why in the world, at what point in time will you bring in another wide receiver? Is it going to be Keenan Allen? Well, those are extremely good questions. We shall ask Kevin Bowen coming up in the 5 o'clock hour. Yeah, I got a lot more for you today. A lot more than just that. All right, 239-1070 is the number. Text line 317-239-1070. As I mentioned yesterday, I don't know if you heard this, but I do want to give a shout out to Ryan and Matt that had the podcast regarding sobriety for 93 WIBC. It was Marconi nominated. That is a big damn deal right there. It's not just kind of that half-assed glass phallic shaped thing that they give from the Spectrum around here. And this is the real deal. It's a Marconi. And they were nominated. And I think you guys all know how much I love Matt Baer. Matt Baer, basically at the same time I was here, he was also a producer, but he has worked such an incredible niche, and he is a fighter. He is a tremendous dude. He and Ryan do a great job on that. So I wanted to commend them for a job well done. Just a simple nomination like that is awesome. And then B105.7. Not even the JMV takeover can drag a phenomenal station into the crapper and not get nominated for a Marconi. Not they with the weight that I carry in negativity, I'm sure, with that Saturday show, they still got nominated for a Marconi. That is great work for Sean Copeland, certainly, and Nick Jordan and everybody, all the staff. But I will tell you this, because I've had one award, I think, in my life. It was the Sports of the Year person back in 2000, the one that James won and Kristen Airy won. I won it in 2000, and the irony of it all is that was the year when we basically went about 5 months without sports, so it really did fit. But I am absolutely going to jump on board and coattail on this Marconi thing on B105.7. I'm coattailing. But a shout out to those guys. They work really hard on it, and it's really cool. Nomination-wise, it is something. To win it is incredible. Nomination-wise, it is really cool, and I'm very proud of everybody in this building for just that. Austin Karp coming up next. Mike Penrose going to join us, the AD at Lawrence North. Pat Boylan, Kevin Bowen, State Fair tickets, that and more. Let's take a break and we'll come back. Stay right there. We're ready for weather, too. Look, he's got the weather note in front of him. 93.5 and 107.5, and a quick weather update, courtesy of Fox 59.
Another terrific night. A refreshing breeze blowing. Humidity is low, down to 59 for a low under clear skies. Sunshine and 87 Thursday, but rain chances return on Friday and into the weekend. I'm Fox 59 Chief Meteorologist Brian Wilkes for The Fan.
The Ride with JMV.
Just an average guy with exceptional hair.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Michael Penrose, top of the hour, Fever winner last night. They at it again coming up on Friday, close out a 3-game road trip after the All-Star break with the Minnesota Lynx coming up at 1 o'clock on Sunday afternoon. Pre-game on Friday night with Tidrow, I believe, comes your way at 9:30. That's a 10 o'clock start coming up on Friday night on ION. And speaking of ION and other, I guess, budding sports content hosts out there on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline from the Sports Business Journal, sportsbusinessjournal.com. Austin Karp had a fantastic article a little bit earlier today, a little heads up regarding DAZN going big on sports and really investing in the NBA market. And Austin joins us right now. Good afternoon to you, pal. How are you?
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Great stuff. So where do we start? Give everybody a significant background that may not know, like me, everything about DAZN.
Well, DAZN is one of the biggest streaming companies, probably in the world, but they're, very focused on the European market, very big on soccer in a lot of European countries, mixed martial arts and boxing. But they've kind of had trouble cracking the code and cracking into the U.S. market. You've seen them out there. They've had some boxing matches. They were the primary carrier of the FIFA Club World Cup in 2025. But they really haven't been able to get a mass audience. They tried an NFL highlight show when they had John Skipper, who used to run ESPN. He was an advisor. That's how he tried to get them involved with the NFL. That really hasn't worked. Now, where they see an entry point is getting in with these local teams, which have had issues with that collapse of Main Street Sports Group that owned, your networks like FanDuel Sports Network, Indiana, those all across the country. They're going to try to aggregate as many teams as they can. T-Wolves, Cavs, Pacers, Spurs, Grizzlies on the NBA side. But the big news this morning was that they're going to take a lot of the streaming in the New York market. That's this Gotham app, which had the combination of Yes Network and MSG. So big teams there, Yankees, Knicks, Rangers, etc., Sabres, Nets, and a bunch of others. They're going to be the home for all. They want to be the home for all of these teams, and that's going to, they think, be the entry point for them in the U.S. market.
He is Austin Karp, at Austin Karp. That's Karp with a K. You can find him on the social media platform X. He's on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. So how would you gauge that folks would feel about this transition with DAZN in mind? Give me your expectation on if all of this comes to fruition, especially here in this indie market for the Pacers. How do you expect the fans to feel, and how would you feel about it? How do you think this is going to go if indeed it does?
Well, I live so much in the weeds on this media stuff. I don't think it phases me as much anymore. But if you're a general fan, it's probably getting a little annoying these days. If you were an NBA fan last year, you had to find out that there's new media partners and it's new nights for, is it on Prime Video? Is it on NBC? Is it on Peacock? Is it on ABC? Is it on ESPN? And it's double the amount of networks. If you're a WNBA fan, if you're trying to find the Indiana Fever, they could be on ION or USA or NBC or CBS or NBA TV or Amazon Prime. It's getting incredibly difficult for fans. But this would almost be, outside of those national games, kind of one-stop shopping for Pacers fans. If it's not on national TV, you kind of know it's going to be on DAZN, like it was with FanDuel Sports Network Indiana. There is the availability, at least sources are telling us, there will be potential over-the-air packages. So you might have some of those broadcast TV games, a few of those that are simulcast or at least in front of any sort of paywall that DAZN has, making it a little easier for fans to get exposure to some of those games.
Austin Karp, he joins us trying to sort this out. And again, I want to remind folks, this is not etched in stone yet, but we shall see, because we've talked about this, Austin, during the offseason, what is going to be the new broadcast home. And I don't know if you know this or not, but we are the radio voice of the Pacers, and that is great. I want people to listen to us all the time, but I just know that people want the visual, and you are right to say it has to be easier. it has to be not only easier, Austin, to find, because these fever games at times are incredibly hard to find. It's like a process every single week to find out where you're going, but there's also a cost. And folks were tossing around the idea of this being a very expensive proposition. What would you know, or what would you expect in that category?
It is getting more expensive to watch your team. Like, you're now having to pay, if you have cut the cord and you don't have, whether it's Comcast or whatever you have in your market, Charter Spectrum, or even Direct TV, if you just want that direct to consumer over the top streaming service, yeah, like that's an added fee you're paying for your team. And it's so counterintuitive where sports media has gone these days. We're in 2026 and we're pining for 1980s technology setup. Like, if only there was some way to bundle all of these channels together in one-stop shopping. This is literally technology, like that's 30 years ago.
Yeah.
A development that was more fan-friendly than it is today.
Yeah, it's incredible. And I don't know if that is likely to change, Austin, anytime soon. You agree? I think we're all going to be discombobulated as humanly possible. And when you see the NFL doing it, because the NFL normally takes terms, it's almost like everybody else follows into suit with the amount of money that's remaining for their broadcast content.
Yeah, to get the money that you got pretty easily in yesteryear, you are now having to bring on those multiple media partners. If it's something like NASCAR, there just used to be a Fox portion of the season, and there used to be an NBC portion of the season. That got split up into 4 media partners because that's how NASCAR was able to get a media rights increase. So for the consumer, you got to hop from Fox to FS1 to Prime Video to TNT or True TV, wherever you're watching, and then over to NBC and USA. It is crazy trying to find the race every week. You got to have literally the old TV guide to figure out where your sports are.
Hey, from a selfish angle, Austin, here, I have DirecTV, and here's why. It is, as you say earlier, it is archaic. I've had it for the better part of now 25 years. I rarely watch anything outside of really about 5 channels, and literally that is it. But here's what I know. I know what is necessary for me to do my job is always going to be right there. And the Pacers were a part of that equation. Will that continue? How would the NBA navigate with DirecTV or the full court package or any of that if this comes to fruition?
See, you would have your national games, at least, if it was on NBC or if it was on ESPN, ABC. But if you already had to leave your DirecTV service if a game was on Prime Video. And it's not just random games. We're talking about playoff series that were on there. A lot of these in-season tournament games, those are all on Prime Video. So you're having to leave that. And you would likely have to leave to go watch. You have to leave to go watch DAZN because it's a separate app. But what we're seeing now is more of what's called this like channels business. If you turn on Amazon Prime a lot, you see like, oh, I can get my Paramount Plus on there, or I can get my HBO Max or my Apple TV shows within that universe. Now you can do that for most media companies out there, everything except for Netflix and Disney, because they don't put their original content anywhere else but on their own streaming platforms. And that's something that kind of needs to change. There needs to be more bundling, more together, more of that direct TV or cable TV universe that used to exist if we're going to have a fan-friendly environment.
Austin Karp of Sports Business Journal, sportsbusinessjournal.com joins us. Final thing here. Do you think that this actually does, for example, for the Pacers in this indie market, does that happen? And do you think people around here will be happy with it? Maybe compared to FanDuel and that coverage of the past. How will Pacer fans feel around here about it?
In terms of coverage, I'm not sure you'll notice much of a difference. You're basically just going to be switching apps. I imagine that they're going to want to keep around a lot of the production talent and a lot of the team talent, the broadcast talent, that's hired by the team anyways. So you'll have a lot of the same figures there. You're going to have some education for fans, especially before the season, where you can find Pacers games this season. I do think this sort of deal is going to get done. The number of streaming platform players out there that are able to deliver something like this, that is shrinking. We have seen services out there like a Victory Plus, which started with the Dallas Stars and got the Ducks and the Texas Rangers, and they were talking to a lot of these NBA teams as well. Well, we already saw the Texas Rangers midway through the season drop Victory Plus as a streaming service. Nobody drops your streaming service midway through a season. That talk about unfan friendly, but that's how bad the business model was. And it sounds like checks were not clearing from that service. Limited buyers out there. One thing I can say about DAZN is that it is incredibly well capitalized. It's owned by one of the richest billionaires in the world, who lives in Europe. So they don't have a money problem, they have a recognition problem. And I think adding these teams, whether it's MLB, NHL, NBA, aggregating as many as they can, and being at the table with the NBA and MLB and NHL when those leagues create a national product of local streaming services, that'll help DAZN with that proposition.
That is Austin Karp with us. And I mentioned this as we came in. We obviously watched the Fever around here. Last night it was ESPN. Friday night it's ION. Sometimes they're on locally, which is awesome, on Channel 13, the NBC affiliate locally. Sometimes not. They're on other venues as well. Is this working out for them right now? And I don't know. Is there a change of pace for that league and how we're going to be able to watch their television broadcast in the not-so-distant future?
I think that is staying steady. This is year one of the WNBA's new media rights deal. Now, let's just start locally with the Fever. Like the local deal that you are talking about, those over-the-air games, that's one of, if not the most lucrative local media rights deal in the NBA. So they love to have that, even though the Fever, no surprise, lead all teams in terms of national TV appearances. Everybody wants some of the Fever. If you look at the top games over the course of the first half of the season, the first 7, all Fever games, there are 29 games so far that have topped 1 million viewers for the WNBA. Half of those are Fever games, and that's across a variety of networks, whether it's USA, ION, like we're talking about, if they're part of a regionalized window there on a Friday night. So the Fever are continuing to, and Caitlin Clark continuing to drive interest, viewership up 12% at the All-Star break.
One more thing I wanted to ask, and this is on a national basis here. Do the networks in this deal, do they charge more for Fever Caitlin Clark games than they might for other matchups across the WNBA landscape of televised games? Is there any?
You're not charging per game like that.
Okay.
But, if NBC is paying a media rights fee to the league, okay, they are now they're passing that cost along to the consumer when they do those carriage deals, when NBC is negotiating with Comcast, when NBC is negotiating with Charter Spectrum and DirecTV. That price that you pay for your bill, why does that go up? Because the cost of that sports right has gone up. And when you add all the leagues together, that's why sports continues to be so important for these companies and keeping them afloat. Like that's the only some of the only appointment television left out there. There's no gathering at the water cooler for a lot of these entertainment TV shows anymore. It's for sports or it's for something like the Thanksgiving Day parade. It's very few in between.
Austin Karp, fantastic job right there of sorting things out, at least for the time being with us. He's from the Sports Business Journal on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Again, sportsbusinessjournal.com for all the latest. Man, we're going to stay in the loop with you, if you don't mind, to see where this thing ultimately goes and get your thoughts if, again, everything turns out to be for real here further down the road. Austin, thank you.
Happy to be here.
Outstanding work. Austin Karp right there. Bringing the smarts real good to a show that lacks the smarts real good. It's what we need. When you just disconnected from Austin, the IQ of this show went down about 150 points.
I could see Austin laughing in the preview screen in here when you said that. So nice job.
I know it.
He was great.
I just lost the IQ points, just poof, gone. Hey, now we're going to talk about Yacht Rock. No, seriously. Gone. That was really good. And full disclosure, every single question I ask, and maybe some of you had already an answer. I had no answer. None. So I didn't know if I was asking him something where he would go, well, wait a minute, this is already this or that. I didn't want to completely put down DAZN, but I was glad to hear him agree with me on where this has to go. And it does for the consumer of sports content out there. It has to become easier. Has to. Now, he probably won't use the description of you got to stop jacking around. I will. And you got to stop jacking around. If this is it, I hope that it works. If this is it, I hope that it's cheap. A couple of back-to-back years coming up that are huge for the blue and gold. I'm glad that you get the content right here on radio. Always want you listening to that. But TV is incredibly important, no doubt. Quick break, we'll come back. Michael Penrose, the longtime AD of LN, 30 years of the Mick. Talked about that on Friday. We'll bring it up with Mike coming up at the top of the hour. To Pat Boyle and Kevin Bowen, all still to come. State Fair Pass is also on the inbound. Stay right there. This is 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. Can false start on the host right there. Hopefully the Colts don't have that issue this season. Connecticut Water Systems to the rescue. Why? Because you don't have Connecticut Water Systems right now, and you want the best water, crystal clear water in your home for you and your family. Connecticut is the only way. Let them show you. Let them prove it to you. An in-home test to show you exactly what you're missing and exactly what they can do for you, what you're going to gain with a specific to your needs water system from Connecticut. No generic parts. Nothing is one size fits all. This is, again, specific, exclusive, if you will, for your home water needs. My friend Joe, today, have him come out, say, Joe, I need you. Test my water, Joe. Find out what they can do for you. Sign up today online to get that appointment made. Connecticut.com.
The Ride with JMV.
Why not, Mr. Venkman? Because you did not use the magic word.
What is the magic word, Mr. Venkman?
Please.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
I'm looking behind me right here. God, I love this Pearl Jam song, by the way. This would be number one ranked for a lot of Pearl Jam fans out there. I'm going to guess right here. If you think that Alive was played too much and it was their initial song out of the gate off of 10, I'm betting that either Black or Yellow Ledbetter is your favorite Pearl Jam song. Where's Pearl Jam songs rank in your category? Which one's your favorite?
You said it, Yellow Ledbetter. That's my favorite by far. No question.
All right. Well done. Hey, by the way, Barry Odom, Big Ten Media Days today. Kurt Signetti tomorrow. Zach Osterman of The Star, who's covering that in Chicago, joins us coming up on tomorrow's show. All right, the other thing is, I don't know if we're getting out via the stream or the app. Are we not? Are we jacked up?
I don't think so.
I believe we're jacked up. We realize we're jacked up. Hopefully they're working on our jacked upness right now. Because there's not a damn thing this guy can do sitting right here. But you can tell me, and I've heard BT's telling me, hey, what's going on? Everything's jacked up? Is the app down? So there's a fly in the ointment right now, as they say. I don't know what it is, but we're trying. I know my man Jeff Wolf from Big League Barbers, the official haircut of the JMV Takeover, says, what the hell? I can't hear you. So it is not your system right now. We are the ones that are jacked up. And I know that our fine staff of engineers working right now on trying to unjack us. Can you guys work on unjacking us? Heather writes this from CG. I only caught the end of the smart media guy discussion. Did he happen to have a reason why MLB continues to screw fans around here? Why was the Cubs-Cardinals blacked out here last night, for example? I'm sorry, Heather. I did not get the opportunity to ask him that. My bad, Heather. Bad host. I should have been paying a little bit more attention.
Here's the thing, John. There's so many things
that
are wrong right now.
It is way
it's hard to
too
get to
hard.
all of them.
Yeah, it's hard to get. And you're going to make it this hard. And like awesome Heather from Center Grove's going to say, screw this crap, I'm done. Screw it, I'm done. And then you're going to have a problem. You just will. JMV, I can see and hear on YouTube, on a laptop, on the web browser. That's good. So I think the signals are still working. So if you have that old school ding-dong foil wrapper and you put it on the end of some sort of metal pole and you stand up on one leg, your left leg, and then put it out the window wherever you are, you're going to get us. Well done. I just don't know about the app, I think, is within question right now. Just keep trying. Brad King says, I'm looking forward to listening to Mike Penrose. Hopefully Mike shares some Pirates and Steelers perspective. Hopefully not, Brad. I don't think anybody wants to hear any Steeler perspective around here. BT says, hey, jiggle the cable that runs the app and stream. I think Caleb's in there jiggling. He's trying. Brian Thomas checks in. Is there a win-loss total for the Colts that indicate success or failure during the season? Selling or buying at the deadline make the postseason. Everyone comes back. Low bar. Yeah, I said this yesterday too, Brian. It is an incredibly low bar. I think making the postseason gets everybody back, but I put a disclaimer on it yesterday. The disclaimer was it depends on what you do when you get there. So if you squeak in and there's not much to be impressed by, if you squeak in and then you get depantsed in the postseason by your opposition, then goodbye. Let's face it. I thought Chris Ballard's response yesterday means either we tripped the light fantastic on this season, or it's time to pack up my office. And really, that's going to be across the board. The only thing that might keep them from that is the connection and the relation and the level you have between head coach and quarterback. Eric Jarvis says, no app. All right, we're trying out there. We have our great staff of engineers. I just made up a new word, too, trying to unjack the situation right now. Unjack it. Fever a winner last night. Caitlin Clark was so impressive. And then people continue at times, she needs to speak about this and talk about, no, she doesn't. She needs to do what she did last night, kick ass and take names. And then people like those that advocate her saying something for something that's outside of the realm of basketball, just shut up. Just do what you did last night, Caitlin Clark. We dig that. Quick break, we'll come back. Michael Penrose, the longtime AD at LN, is going to join us next. No, it's the District Tap, 2 locations, North Side, Clearwater Crossing, downtown Indy. Indy, the location downtown is absolutely perfect for you, too. Damn good food, happy hour specials, TVs everywhere. You're going to love it. North Side, if you don't want to mess with going downtown, that's okay. North Side is a fantastic destination, too. Sammy is the outstanding server and bartender. Ask for Sammy. I believe that is IE on the Sammy right there. And tell Sammy that JMV sent you. Really, simply put, destination location, both district taps here in central Indiana. Ask about the live music. You can ask about the event space and the catering as well. Check it out, thedistricttap.com.
The Ride with JMV.
You want to hear our signal? That was our signal.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
It's our app signal, I think, right now. They're telling me that the app is FUBAR. We cannot have a FUBAR app. We will not have one. I promise. Jason E. is trying to adjust my dialogue on a language that I continue to invent. Jason suggests that unjack may not be the right term. If it's jacked up, then let's jack it down. No, I don't think we want to have any jacking at all. So that's why I want to eliminate the jacking. So if I'm eliminating it, it's unjacking. Hey, this is the Greene County language you guys want. I don't know if I need to teach a course on Greene County anese.
Do you remember, John, the old ESPN NFL shows? They used to have a segment called Jacked Up.
Yeah, they did.
And it was the biggest hits of the week.
And people just, then they ended up with, CTE like an hour later after
the
those
NFL
hits.
said
Yeah.
enough of that.
Yeah, they go, we can't do that anymore. Jacked up. You guys keep me updated on the app situation. And I'd appreciate that. Pat Boylan, bottom of the hour. Austin Karp was awesome from the Sports Business Journal back in hour number 1. And Kevin Bowen, who was staked out at the first practice with the Colts in training camp at the final time up at Grand Park in Westfield a little bit earlier today. So the news, I guess, was a moving around, which is good. And no injury. Daniel Jones. Some playmaking in the secondary with a Sauce and a Mooney. Good. I don't know what that says about the wide receiver situation without Alec Pierce. Bad. Keenan Allen coming up? Maybe. Where does the kicking battle rank? Is it bad? And I don't know Spencer Schrader at all, and I have nothing against him, but I'm a groupie on this. Blake Groupie? We need to go back to the days when all the kickers looked like Tony Franklin. Now, you think he would kick with no shoes and socks on? That's what we need. Just little tiny kickers.
I think
he's a tiny kicker.
If you're talking just strictly close competition, which position has the closest?
I need a Matt Barr, a Chris Barr, a Tony Frisch, a Tony Franklin. I need little tiny dudes kicking.
Well, Groupie fits that description.
Groupie. I'm a groupie. We'll find out, I guess, some word on that battle, positionally speaking. Meantime, on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline, he has been the AD at Lawrence North now for a number of years. I believe the last 12 he's been at LN, the AD, 33 years in all at Lawrence North, and he started as a coach and a teacher. They have a great look at 30 years of the MIC that we talked about last week with Joe down at Center Grove. And we're going to do that. We're going to share the wealth a little bit right now. Michael Penrose joins us from Lawrence North, the athletic director on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Did you tell me earlier today you were older than dirt? Was that your quote?
I'm pretty close, JMV.
Me too. How old are you? Because I'm curious. Am I dirt too?
I'm 55.
I'm a year older than you, buddy. So what kind of dirt am I?
Well, you're just the top layer. I'm on top. You're on the bottom a little bit. But we're close.
You know, you have, Michael, such a unique perspective. And when I was informed about, this documentary on 30 years of the MIC, you've seen a little bit of everything. What has massively changed the most from your viewpoint? Not just over the past 12 you've been the AD, but over the 30 years you've been involved with sports.
Well, just recently we've got, our own version of NIL that was passed by the IHSA. And so now we have to contend with that. I didn't think we would ever have to contend with that. We've had a lot of new transfer rules come into play over the years. There have been all kinds of different rules, what you could do in the summer and out of season, in season. So it's been a lot of different things with the IHSA. And a lot of different things that kids have to contend with now. It seems like when I first started in '94, you didn't have to worry about social media and who was saying this or having kids, post that, and now that's just part of everyday life as a teenage kid. So the one thing I think is consistent is kids are kids. They all have hormones. They're all goofy, and you just try to guide them in the right direction in the environment that you're in right now.
You mentioned too, Michael, the NIL and this new era in the IHSAA. You have a group of really incredible players. One certainly that is really good in, for example, Manchin Sales. Is it different for you guys when you have somebody that is thought about, is described at the elite level as he is, not just positionally, but as a football player in high school in general?
Well, luckily we've had a lot of high profile athletes over the years, so we're kind of used to that aspect of it. And Manchin's he's a kid. He's Manchin. He's the kid I met when he was a freshman. So again, you just have to guide him in the right direction. But in terms of now, he's had all kinds of different pressures put on him, and he's traveling all over the place. And it's just making sure you have the right people to help guide him.
It's Michael Penrose, again, the athletic director of Lawrence North on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. One of my all-time favorites is Omar Cooper Jr. Were you aware of this? One of my all-time favorites.
He's one of my all-time favorites. His mom was our athletic administrative assistant for a time, so I got to see Omar, and his sisters grew up around Lawrence North before he became Omar Cooper, the first-round draft pick of the New York Jets. So he is an outstanding young man. He is going to class that organization up. He comes from a great, great family, and we couldn't be more proud of that young man.
He is. He explained to me last year he was on and told me the story, and he was so thankful. And rarely are you thankful for an injury, but it was like being thankful for an injury that kept him from making a decision that clearly now in the future he would have regretted. Now, he still would have been really good because he's a talented dude, but the story alone is just incredible. And he has such a class makeup to him. It's just impossible not to like him.
Yeah, it's like I said, he comes from good stock. His dad and mom were both Division I athletes, and Dad's been coaching for us for a long time now with both football and basketball. So he's got two mentors at home that have led him in the right direction in terms of doing what needs to be done, not only athletically, but more importantly in the classroom. So that way he has an opportunity to do what he wants to do athletically. So again, I can't wait to see him on the field and see what he does. And he's first class all the way.
Michael Penrose, the AD of Lawrence North. He joins us on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. What'd you think about this documentary regarding 30 years and the anniversary of the MIC when you first heard about it?
Well, I think it's certainly appropriate. We've got both Carmel and Center Grove entering the conference again after a 5-year absence, and 30 years of the schools that are in the MIC. We've had a lot of state championships and a lot of premier athletes come out of our conference. And certainly I feel like it's the best conference in the state, if not one of the best in the Midwest and in the nation. A lot of schools have had national championships, let alone state championships. So it's certainly timely in order to promote the conference and see how it moves forward. So we're very excited.
So how'd you guys get the band all back together again? Did you and Joe and everybody get together and play cards or something and then decide to get everybody back together? How did we get on the same page with this? I asked Joe the same thing last week too, by the way.
Well, I mean, I think it's been an ongoing thing over the last 5 years in terms of where the relationships are. And there's, individual conferences and talks that we've had, and Jimmy and I at Carmel we've had some conversations, but ultimately this is a principal and superintendent decision, and I think after 5 years of being apart and understanding how important competition is, and iron sharpens iron, I think it's in the best interest of everybody to get back together and let's do this for another 30 years.
It is too. It was funny about it too. and you've got to be lockstep with with the principal. And believe me, I've been around this at a much lower level where I come from in a rural area, and sometimes if that's discombobulated, there's zero way things are going to work really anywhere. I'm talking athletically or academically, and you've got to be pushing in the same direction. And sometimes it's difficult to get that, and when you have it, you have to make sure you maintain it.
Yeah, correct. And there's a lot of different people in leadership positions at a lot of these schools now, and so maybe some of the hard feelings are no longer there. We're going to be trying to do some things to make sure we all move forward with mutual respect and understanding, and make that a point in terms of sportsmanship. I talked about this a lot with our coaches. I think our kids do a wonderful job at all of these schools displaying, for the most part, sportsmanship, which I think our fans and our parents can take a lesson to, is that if our young people can show the type of sportsmanship that they do on most occasions, and that should certainly affect what goes on in their communities.
Do you have a favorite era being a part of LN?
Wow. I would say the early 2000s to 2010 was an incredibly crazy time at Lawrence North and in the MIC. That's when I was the head swimming and diving coach, and that was some of the best teams that we've had there. And I remember after the MIC conference championship meet, I want to say it was in 2002 or 2003, the top four medley relay teams in the state all were from the MIC conference, and that's just in my sport. But we had wrestling state championships, back-to-back wrestling state championships, back-to-back track state championships, of course, basketball in 04, 05, 06. It was just a crazy time in terms of success that we had. And I think it was, we founded the MIC in 96, and we were one of the smallest schools. But at that time, I think we set an expectation at Lawrence North that we weren't going to back down from anybody. And that was kind of what I was taught when I got here in 94. And to kind of see that over a 10-year period, to see all the success that we had in that era was pretty cool.
Again, Michael Penrose, he's the athletic director for Lawrence North, and the documentary is 30 years in celebration of the anniversary of the MIC. And Michael's on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. I'd mentioned I talked to Joe Bronchello last week of Center Grove, the AD, about this and about being an athletic director. Michael, there was a point in time, and we're basically the same age, and you probably remember this too, where the athletic director, the job description was to make sure the officials showed up and the buses were ready to go on road trips, and that was it. It is interesting to see how that gig has evolved over decades, is it not?
Well, there's a lot of things that happen in my seat that people don't see. So in terms of making sure the facilities are taken care of, you work with vendors, you work with construction crews, making sure that all kinds of the bleachers are good, the turf is good. And that's another thing, 30 years ago, not very many people had turf.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden the MIC kind of led that drive, and we were some of the first schools to get turf. But it's taking care of facilities, working with coaches on schedules, evaluations, all kinds of different things that you're dealing with on a day-to-day basis that people don't see. But it's that last line in the contract and other duties as assigned. And eventually you have to answer to whatever happens on your campus, and you have to be prepared for that. So you got your hand in all kinds of stuff.
Well, I think now more than ever, too, I don't remember, other than looking at our report cards and going, yeah, JMV, you're a huge dumbass. Obviously, we're going to have to sit you for this game because you get a smoke up. Obviously, without that, I don't remember ADs getting too involved with the academic portion of what is going on. And now I mean, you're as much a part of it as anybody else in this process. That's just another kind of added layer to your job description in this era of ADs.
Well, yeah. Well, I think athletic directors have always had that because the IHSA requires the academic piece in order to be eligible. In fact, it's the only governing body that requires that. I mean, you could be in the choir and not do well, but still sing, or be in the band and still play. But in terms of athletics, that's an expectation. And so yeah, we are definitely monitoring our academics, and there's a lot on the line for our kids who are trying to get to the secondary level, and we need to make sure that they are first and foremost eligible to get through the Office of Admissions. And you could be the greatest athlete in the world, but if you can't get through that door, your options are going to be limited.
Where'd you go to high school, Michael, by the way?
I went to Newcastle. I was a Trojan, graduated in '89. So I saw the glory days of the North Central Conference.
Did you?
Cedar Alford, yeah, growing up.
I was talking about this last week, and I'm glad you brought this up because I was actually 2 weeks ago, I was in Anderson, and I was talking about just the legend of that conference and the night in and night out. And then I was talking yesterday about the East Bay Dunk, which was Andre Morgan in 1983 of Anderson in the Wigwam. The stories are absolutely endless. That had to be an incredible era to grow up in Indiana, being a part of that conference, and certainly being a part of Newcastle with all the success.
I was at the Wigwam in 1983. Steve Alford had made 84 straight free throws, and he got fouled with about 5 seconds left, and my buddy Brad and I were sitting at the end watching Steve getting ready to shoot free throws. All the Newcastle fans were thinking that, all right, we're going to win this game. We're down by 1. He misses the first end, and then we're like, okay, at least it's going to go in overtime. He misses 2 free throws in a row. Anderson gets the rebound, and they win, and that was the North Central Conference Championship. So yeah, that was, 9,000 people in the Wigwam. It was crazy.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's ever talked about that Steve Alford story on the show. We got all the other ones. Did you guys, and I'm assuming you played basketball as well in Newcastle, did you guys all go to your socks and do the same Alford routine to shoot free throws? Because at least people around me did that too, even in Southern Indiana.
Everybody in Newcastle knows how to shoot free throws and 3-pointers. Everybody grows up playing basketball. I did not play basketball in high school. I was a swimmer. I ended up swimming at Butler University. But one thing I did learn from Coach Alford was how to shoot a basketball.
Yeah, well, I had to go through just because of him. I had to go through drills where they had somebody standing on a chair with a broom up, and you had to shoot over that. And, all the Alford drills back in the day that became legendary and then had to become a part of your routine because of what he accomplished. It was an amazing time. It really was. And then you look across the landscape of that conference, and I know we're talking about the MIC 30 years later, and this is incredibly special. So you got a pretty good running start on just how special a conference can be with what you witnessed back in high school.
Absolutely, and I had a great group of coaches and teachers from Newcastle, and so I kind of saw what was really cool about the North Central Conference in their heyday, and then I got to be a part of something really cool with the formation of the MIC back in '94. And when I got here in '94, I was more of the second generation of Lawrence North teachers and coaches. The school was founded in '76, and we're actually celebrating our 50th anniversary of the school this year. And so I was taught what it meant to be a Wildcat, and then I was here to see the formation of the MIC. And that it's been. I think if you look at conferences in terms of the Indiana High School Athletic Association, who were the power conferences throughout different eras, certainly the North Central Conference in the 70s and 80s. And then that kind of formed into where were people going? Where were the jobs, and where were the jobs being lost, and where were people moving? And that's where the MIC conference was formed. Everybody was moving into the Indianapolis metro area. And you had all these big schools, but nobody wanted to play them, and nobody wanted to form a conference with them. And so that's where Ben Davis, Carmel, Center Grove, Lawrence North, North Central, and Warren Central, the founding 6, got together back in '96. So I saw that as an assistant coach. I was in, various conversations with some of my mentors about why we're going to do this and why it's good for us and why it's good for the Indianapolis area. And it's certainly, I think, from where we were to where it is now, I think it's certainly exceeded expectations.
How interesting is the dialogue that you have with your coaches about how you cobble together a schedule year in and year out? Is it good stuff?
Well, our philosophy is we want to play the best we can in terms of a regular season. I always tell coaches I could put together a 20-win season in whatever sport or a really good record in the regular season, but that does not prepare you for, sectional play. And we want to be able to be tested. We want to be able to, like I said before, iron sharpens iron. So those kind of games, in a sense, don't mean much in terms of what we're doing right now. It only prepares you for what's going to happen. And that's what leads the conversation with a coach is who do we want to play and where do we want to play them? And in our office, it doesn't matter. Let's play home, let's away, let's go play a neutral site. Let's play good competition that's going to get us ready for the postseason. And that's typically what guides the conversation.
So Michael Penrose, the AD of Lawrence North, and again, 30 years of the MIC. I want to ask you for a quick comparison because you lived them both, one as a student and what Marion accomplished out of your conference when you were a student, and then the other, what Conley and Odin specifically accomplished at your school. Some of the similarities and the differences of the two most incredible runs we've ever seen around here in hoop.
Yeah, the Marion teams, I was just a kid, middle school kid, early high school when that was going on. You would not necessarily see stuff on social media like we do today that hype stuff up, but you would get, Who's Your Basketball magazine and different things like that. And you would read about all these players. And it was a magical time. And any game you went to was packed, whether it was Marion, Richmond, Newcastle, Anderson, Muncie, didn't matter. And then now when we went through the Conley Odin days, it was packed at Lawrence North. Every single game was packed. It was sold out every single game. I had Mike in class. Greg was, it was so hard for them to be just regular students. There was so much demanding of that time. So I saw that as a teacher and coach. But I don't know what Jay Edwards and Lyndon Jones and those guys had to deal with in Marion, but I'm sure similar situation, but they were in a small town, so to speak. So everybody probably knew them, and every time they stepped out, they probably had to deal with all kinds of different stuff in their hometown. At least in Indy, I think Mike's not 7 foot, but every time Greg stepped out, Greg can't hide, but Mike was a little bit more, I think, under the radar because of who Greg was. He was 2-time National Player of the Year, but Mike obviously has had a 20-year NBA career and was great in his own right. But if you think about some of the teams and the players that came out of that era,
yeah,
from Carmel, like Josh McRoberts from North Central. Who do we have at North Central?
You got guys playing from CG right now. CG in the past. It's a who's who.
Players,
yeah,
that went on to great NBA careers.
Ben Davis
Mike wasn't in the MIC. Yeah, they weren't in the MIC in 2004, 5, and 6. They were in Conference Indiana.
Yeah, you're right.
So, but yeah, we didn't lose at home. We never lost in the MIC, and during those 4 years, and it was crazy. And you have to think our gym only holds a little less than 3,000, but all those North Central schools, 3 times that at Newcastle. So it's hard for me to think about how could I possibly get 9,000 people in one of our gyms around here other than Southport.
By the way, that's going to be going under, I guess, renovations, which is going to screw me on Sunday mornings. What the hell am I going to do about that? That's ridiculous.
Yeah, those Southsiders, you guys are going to have a hard time around the traffic around there. But
I know. They're going to stick me in the auxiliary gym so I have sore knees every week.
But we'll figure that out.
Yeah.
We're talking about that as Marion County athletic directors about where to put.
Don't you send that back to? Is there ways you can send that to Hinkle? And by the way, too, as I mentioned, this is completely off course, but since I have you here, I'm going to ask. In Southport is undergoing renovations, so they're not going to be able to host what they normally do coming up this year. Correct? And what is this? Make sure I'm exact on this. The regional, correct? Is that what it is, or?
Well, I think Tony can speak better to that at Southport than I can.
Probably could, yeah.
I've been, with emails and different things like that in terms of what we do with the Marion County Athletic Association, but they're not going to be able to host a lot, so it's going to fall on a lot of the other Marion County schools to do that. Now, in terms of hosting things at Hinkle, in the middle of January, I think there's a lot of stuff that goes on in terms of cost and NCAA rules about high school kids being on a campus and those kind of things. And there's just a lot of barriers that you have now that you didn't have back in the day. I mean, a lot of people always like to think, well, back in the day, we always had semi-state at Hinkle, we had regional at Hinkle, we had different things on college campuses that you can't necessarily do today because of the different rules that you have.
Yeah. See, I'm glad you straightened that out because I was going to complain about that a little bit later on. But that does make, I don't know. I say it makes sense, but in this particular era, it seems like it's such a wild west right now. I don't know how much sense that ultimately makes, but to me, I guess. But it does to you because that's what you got to deal with on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's something special about having a championship like that on a high school campus. And keeping it local, but I certainly understand the nostalgia aspect of having things on at a place like Hinkle Fieldhouse. I certainly
I think that to me is a little bit different. Because that still has the legend of great high school games in that venue. So I think that would be a little bit different. So who would would you guys end up trying to host something like that? How would that work?
Well, it all depends on. It's funny you ask because I was just talking to some other Marion County athletic directors about that today, and we've certainly hosted a lot of things here at Lawrence North. In fact, we hosted the IHSA State Volleyball Championships for boys in May, so we could certainly put on a good show. We pride ourselves in doing some things pretty cool up here at Lawrence North in terms of hosting events, but. It depends on what you have on your schedule right now and trying to move things around and whether or not it would be even feasible. So we're certainly going to be discussing that with the other Marion County athletic directors, whether that for at least those 2 years it's going to be moved. Where to, we don't know. We want to make sure it's in a big enough gym to accommodate people. So that's obviously going to limit some schools from hosting. So you might look at Lawrence North, Lawrence Central, North Central, Ben Davis, Pike, all the mixed schools, Franklin Central, maybe Decatur. So a lot of those schools are going to be in the mix in terms of who can host and if it's going to be available and what's going to be best for the county.
Michael Brad King says he wants to hear you talk about the Pirates and the Steelers.
Brad King is a heck of a guy. He and I grew up together playing ball together. He's one of the best baseball players I've seen play, and he was the Newcastle head coach for a long time, and now he's the head coach at Mount Vernon. And
I saw that. Yeah,
Pittsburgh fans. Yeah, we're both big Pittsburgh fans. So, in fact, I'm going to the Reds Pirates game on Sunday.
Yeah. Oh, man. I don't know. I'm a Reds fan, so I think we've been kind of in the same boat for a number of years with both these baseball teams we back.
Both long-suffering fans. Yes, we can relate.
And Brad King, by the way, is the head baseball coach over at Mount Vernon. I am a big fan of Fortville, as we know that to be true. Michael Penrose, the AD of Lawrence North on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline, celebrating 30 years of the MIC. It has been an exceptional conversation with you. Don't be a stranger, and if you need anything, let me know. We'll get you back on here. I really love the conversation we had, Michael. Thank you very much for the time today.
Thank you, JMV. Take care, buddy.
Right back at you. Michael Penrose was awesome. Well done. Well done. The documentary is 30 years of the MIC. And evidently they don't, with the athletic directors, get together and carve out their differences over a card table. They don't do that. That's good stuff, though. Michael, thank you very much. Quick break, we'll come back. Pat Boylan's got to be pushed back about 10 minutes, the voice of the Fever. We shall give him that leeway. He will join us around about 4:40 or so. And then Kevin Bowen coming up at the top of the hour. All right, 239-1070 is the number. You can find us, 317-239-1070. You can find us on the text line. Is the app working yet? Do we know, Caleb? What is the status of the app?
Do not know the status of the app right now. I would assume no, but
what do you guys got? Give us the status of the app when you get a chance. Appreciate that. Quick break, we'll come back. First things first, weather update, Fox 59.
Another terrific night. A refreshing breeze blowing. Humidity is low, down to 59 for a low under clear skies. Sunshine and 87 Thursday, but rain chances return on Friday and into the weekend. I'm Fox 59 Chief Meteorologist Brian Wilkes for The Fan.
Connecticut Water Systems, Connecticut.com. Get Joe in your home today or somebody on their fine staff to test your water. If you don't have Connecticut, you don't have the best water possible. You need Connecticut. Bathing, drinking, washing your clothes. Elite water with Connecticut. Get your water tested to find out what system Connecticut can put together for you. Will be unique to your standards. What is necessary for you? No generic equipment at Connecticut. It is all specific to you. Joe and the gang, your in-home water test is absolutely free. Sign up right now, Connecticut.com. Oh, John here for Big Red Liquors powers the JMV takeover. Marconi award-winning station, B105. Or check that, nominated station for B105.7. But every Saturday night, Big Red Liquors powers the all-request JMV takeover. And we're going to celebrate an Indiana original, the Oliver Winery. Started in Bloomington, 1972, grown into the largest winery in the state of Indiana. And of the top 30 wineries in the country, it is right there among the elite level best. So great deals on Oliver Winery products going on this weekend at Big Red Liquors. Buzzballs Biggies, $19.99 or 2 for $30. Have you ever had Buzzballs? It's legit. Sun Cruiser 8-packs, $3 off. You're going to save there as well. And on the beer side of things, the great cooler week with Corona and Modelo 24-packs, Guinness 8-packs, and Twisted Tea 12-packs, all $5 off. And all at Big Red Liquors. Powers the JMV takeover every Saturday night, 100 plus around the state of Indiana. There is one near you. You can find it online, BigRedLiquors.com.
The Ride with JMV.
Awesome! Totally awesome! All right, Hamilton.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Pearl Jam gives you Yellow Ledbetter. The app is officially working. Thank you all. Thanks to our staff of engineers to get this thing back going again. JMV, I have Xfinity, and they have 2 dedicated channels that only shows the Reds and the Cardinals game and nothing else. I was wondering if they can do the same thing for the Pacers. We were trying to work on that with Austin Karp of the Sports Business Journal a little bit earlier. We'll see if they end up going. What was that again? DAZN?
Yes, DAZN.
It is English. It is called DAZN. Most notably with boxing matches, I believe, in the past. A lot of you have chimed in saying, hey, it's not bad. Michael Penrose, the AD of Lawrence North, outstanding a moment ago. Podcast up there, 1075thefan.com. Yeah, Terry Jones says, I watch a lot of boxing on DAZN. And we'll see if the Pacers end up going with that. That was a report that the Pacers are looking into that direction. And again, I don't know how it's going to work. You know, they suggest maybe some over-the-air games within that package as well. But we were wondering where the Pacers would go. And you know, everybody else, I don't really care, but where the Pacers would go so we could watch them this season. And the Sports Business Journal and Austin Karp had the story about DAZN arguably being the choice. We'll find out if that is true. The app is awesome. And it is back up and working again. JMV, we did a quarterback stat comparison at work today between Super Bowl champ Sam Darnold and Daniel Jones. The stat results suggest Daniel Jones is comparable, if not better. With the right staff and players around him, he should be good enough to win a Super Bowl, but the numbers do lie. That's from Matty Matt. I think the combination of Steichen and Jones is something that was absolutely real before he was injured. But do they have enough around? Do they have enough of the other things? And that's why I suggested at the end of the season, if they don't live up to expectations, but they still have a really nice offensive season between quarterback and head coach, how do you look at that? Again, those are things that are going to work themselves out, but all really good questions. And this is a thick book with the Colts of nothing but questions. Kevin Bowen, top of the hour, shall explain the first day of practice up in Westfield a little bit earlier today. Kevin's got you. Pat Boylan on the other side of the Fever, a really nice win, the first of 3 on the road post All-Star break. Caitlin Clark was outstanding, and Pat Boylan set to join us next. John here with a tremendous idea. Turn your yard into a place that you love with the help of Sundown Gardens in Westfield. Miss M's Home and Garden in Burgersville. The advantage is right here of summer savings up to 50% off. You can refresh your containers and add color to your yard. 50% off of annuals. Again, 50% off of annuals. You can go big. 20 to 40% off container trees and shrubs, and 20% off perennials. The dream outdoor living space that you're looking for with all these deals and more, including sales on pottery fountains and in-stock patio furniture, all 30% off. And do not forget about the gift shop. Sundown and Miss Sims, 50% off of selected gifts now through the end of this month, so you better hurry. That's stopping in today and making sure you take advantage. Sundown Gardens in Westfield, 186 and Spring Mill Road. That's Miss M's on State Road 135, just south of Whiteland Road in Burgersville. Big Red Liquors powers the JMV Takeover every Saturday night on B105.7, and they are ready to support your weekend activities. Cutwater 4-pack cans, varieties you're going to find there. You're going to save a couple of dollars there. Sun Cruiser Lemonade variety 8-packs, $3 off. Yeah, the official double shot power of the JMV Takeover. High Noon Romy 8-pack cans you're going to save there too. Fireball 10 packs, $9.99. That's 2 for $18. You can save a couple of dollars. And Bud Light, Miller Lite, Coors Light, 16-ounce, 18 packs. You're going to save money there, too, at Big Red Liquors. It powers the JMV Takeover every Saturday night in 100 locations, state of Indiana, 19 new in the Indianapolis area. There's one near you. Make sure you're not BYOB host, the party host. Make sure they're supported and gets that support from Big Red Liquors. To find that location nearest you and even more deals online, bigredliquors.com.
The Ride with JMV.
I love winning, man. I love winning. You hear what I'm saying? It's like better than losing.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Oh, Fever last night. Fever Radio. 105.95 over the Storm, the first of 3 on the road in Portland coming up on Friday night. 10 o'clock is that tip time. 9:30 Tidrow's got you right here. The Lynx in Minnesota, 1 o'clock on Sunday. That is going to be a humdinger, as they say. Pregame show here at 12:30. Maybe now at 18-10 overall, hitting their stride, and somebody that would know the voice of the Fever. He's our good friend, Pat Boylan. Kind enough to join us on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. You know, without the Leah Boston situation injury-wise last night, man, that was so much more like it. You agree?
Yeah, no question, John. You know, I thought they played terrifically in the first half, you know, one of their best first halves of the season. They certainly faced, some adversity. That 20-point lead was down to 2. And, you know, I really thought the beginning of the fourth quarter was one of the big gut check moments of the season so far. You have that 20-point lead. You lose Aaliyah Boston. The lead is just kind of slowly dwindling away, but you haven't lost it. And it's at 4 points starting the fourth quarter. Boston is not back. Caitlin Clark has played nearly the whole game, so she starts the fourth quarter on the bench. And so it's Kelsey Mitchell in a 4-point lead, and you're feeling a lot less confident than you were maybe an hour ago. And then Kelsey Mitchell just delivers with 8 points in the first couple of minutes, gets that lead back to 10. Caitlin Clark comes back in, makes a couple plays, hits a couple shots, and you end up winning a game that you feel comfortable with in the final few minutes. You certainly miss Aaliyah Boston's presence. They don't really have – if Caitlin Clark goes down, it's a very difficult thing to overcome, but you have another guard right next to her in Kelsey Mitchell that's an all-star caliber player. When Aaliyah Boston goes down, you just miss her presence so significantly. But, that backcourt is really, really good for a reason. They're all-stars for a reason. The last time they played Seattle a week and a half ago, they combined for 75 points, and they combined for 60 last night in Seattle, and they certainly needed just about all of those to power them to victory.
It's Pat Boylan, who's on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. I'm telling you, Kelsey Mitchell is an absolute powder keg of offense.
Yeah. I mean, she's just so fun to watch right now. She has always been a dynamic offensive player, but what she has done in the last 5-6 weeks, I mean, I think she's been the best player in the WNBA over the last month and a half. 12 games now, scoring at least 20 points per game, 12 games of hitting at least 3 threes per game. She's playing at an absolute elite MVP caliber level on the season as a whole, and so too is Caitlin Clark. But in the last 5-6 weeks, I mean, she has just been on an otherworldly tear. And those two last night, we're just talking about their contributions a little bit a moment ago, but Caitlin Clark was kind of that strong, steady, high-level presence throughout the game. Kelsey Mitchell had 10 points going into the fourth quarter. And I made this comment, on air to Deb late in the game. If you're Seattle defensively, after 3 quarters, after 30 minutes, you've held Kelsey Mitchell to 10 points. This feels like a massive win if you're the Storm. And then you look up at the end of the night and she finishes the game with 28 points still, when you probably felt like you did a pretty good job on her for 3 quarters of the game. So, yeah, I mean, her fourth quarter performance was massive. I don't know that the Fever come away victorious without the fourth quarter that she had, especially when you consider Aaliyah Boston was down. I mean, we're truly witnessing a scoring stretch that is historic right now. I mean, she's breaking just about every Fever scoring record that there is, and she's putting herself into rarefied air, depending on whether you're looking at points per game or her three-point percentage, her efficiency. All of it is just at such a high level right now. And frankly, I was a little concerned when the team hit the All-Star break. I mean, they had just been playing so well. Now, the All-Star break in the W, it's a lot shorter than it is in the NBA. So in the NBA, you're off for over a week. In the WNBA, you're off for a handful of days. But Clark had been playing great. Mitchell had been playing great. The Fever won their final 3 games and 4 of their last 5 going into the break. And I was kind of thinking, he actually want it to come. But you start the post-All-Star break slate with another offensive explosion as a team. Kelsey Mitchell really good. Caitlin Clark really good. So I think any worries about losing any of that momentum, hopefully, they were quelled by Indiana's victory last night.
Fever in Portland coming up on Friday night. Can you remember the last time that you were watching a part of a game where the opposition turned it over, I believe, just 4 times and lost at home?
No.
That was weird.
I can't think of an example like that. It's obviously very, very rare.
Yeah, it was really weird because I felt like this. I don't know if you feel the same, that it seems like the Fever are taking better care of the ball, and then you look at the opposite side of what happened in Seattle last night, and they really took care of it. The Fever just continued to shoot it well, and as you mentioned, they blew a 20-point lead and then regained that advantage and kept the foot on the gas. They still gave up too much, which is 95, but I love it when their offense is as robust as we witnessed that last night.
Yeah, you can give up 95 when you're scoring 105, that's for sure. The couple of games against Seattle have just had some statistical eye poppers. I mean, you talk about the turnover number, which you just referenced. The game on July 17th in Indianapolis, the Storm set a franchise record with 66 points in the paint in a game that they lost. That was the game where Caitlin Clark went for 45 points, 10 assists. Kelsey Mitchell added 30. So you think about, one night you score a franchise record in terms of points in the paint. Another night you have just 4 turnovers at home, and you win neither of those games. Well, you got some statistical outliers for the Fever as well. Obviously, mentioned the Caitlin Clark-Kelsey Mitchell duo. And in last night's game in Seattle, the Fever were 26 of 26 from the free throw line. And the record, by the way, for most makes in a game without a miss is 27. So that was nearly a WNBA record there. And there were large stretches of the game where, Deb and I were kind of making the comment, the difference in this game is the free throw shooting. The difference in this game is the fact that the Fever are 17 of 17, and the Storm, maybe at the time were 11 of 18 or something like that. So when you go 26 of 26 from the foul line, it's hard to lose. When you go 13 of 24 from the foul line, it's hard to lose. When Kelsey Mitchell and Caitlin Clark combined for 60 points, it's hard to lose. And the Fever got all of those things and found a way again last night. And fourth straight game scoring 100 points. That's a WNBA record. 12th game this season scoring 100 points. That's a WNBA record. And we're talking here at the end of July in a season that's going to go into September. So we're truly witnessing some historic aspects on the offensive end right now. As we've talked about on your show weekly or so here lately, where the defense ends up will probably go a very long way in determining what the Fever team is capable of. But I think you can make a good case, at least through July, that you are watching the best offense in the history of the WNBA.
I would agree with you right there. Pat Boylan is with us. Before I let you go, I mentioned they got the Fire in Portland coming up on Friday night. And while the Fire, at home, that's opposition. You've got to make sure that you maintain that. It's difficult for me not to look ahead to Sunday. And to me, that's going to be the ultimate gauge, especially the way that Minnesota team is playing right now.
Yeah, no question. And the Fever, I think, have done a really good job over the last 4 or 5 weeks of taking care of the take care of business games. Their one loss here recently was Golden State, who's one of the top teams in the league. But you've taken care of the take care of business games lately, and this is no question one of them. And like Seattle, Portland's tough. They're stingy. They play good defense. It's a good home court environment. It's by no means a cakewalk. It's by no means an easy game. But you look at it, and, we'll wait to see on Aaliyah Boston, which will go a long way in determining, how you kind of analyze this one. But the Fever are the better team. There's no question about that. And so, can you continue to take care of business in these games against teams that are in the bottom half of the standings? It's really interesting. You look at the WNBA standings, and they pretty much divided in half. The top 8 teams have pretty much checked out on the bottom 7. Portland is 9th in a 15-team league, but they're 4.5 games behind 8th place Washington. So, this will be a challenging game. Road games, in the WNBA and in the NBA almost always are. And can you continue to excel at the level that you have offensively? And if so, that's going to be tough to beat for a Portland team that doesn't have, they're a brand new franchise. So they don't have a lot of big name scorers or a lot of top-level offensive talent. What they've been able to do is really impressive considering all of the circumstances. But they win by, trying to make things tough defensively. The Fever's last trip to Portland might have been their worst game of the season. They got down by 26. They lost by 16. So that was a long time ago. That was the end of May. And since then, the Fever are 14-6, and since then, Portland is 5-13. So absolutely keeping your focus on this game with the Minnesota game at the end of the trip, vitally important that you don't look too far ahead, because even if you could get Portland, this is me speaking, but if you could get Portland on Friday, even if you trip up in Minnesota, even if you don't win in Minnesota, I would look at a 3-game road trip where you go 2-1 as quite a successful one regardless. So we'll wait on Aaliyah Boston. She went down when it initially happened. You kind of held your breath. It was good to see her get back up. She took part of warm-ups before the third quarter, ultimately didn't play, but, the hope would be that you avoided something major or long-term with her. Whether that means she plays Friday or not, I don't know. And if you don't have her, obviously trying to replace her is a significant challenge. So it'll be an interesting one in Portland, no question, here on Friday, and another late one that we appreciate everybody who stays up late, watches with us on THR, WALV, and, of course, listens right here on 107.5.
Hey, Pat, quickly, I know that you obviously cover a great deal of the Pacers, in-game practice, all that. Had you ever seen Tyrese Halliburton do that East Bay dunk before he did it over the weekend?
I haven't. I can't say I've ever seen him try, but that definitely kind of turned my head for sure, especially when you consider everything he's going through. And then the last time I actually saw him at least close up was right as the season was ending, and he was going through all of those medical challenges, and just to see where he has advanced physically over the last few months, I think is really substantial and been good to see. So, yeah, anytime anybody comes off of the type of injury that he has, to see that video was pretty cool. And as I think we've discussed, I think there's a whole other aspect of the mental side and shaking off the rust, and he's going to have 16 months of rust or something like that. But from the physical side, that's where, he'll figure the mental side out. He's a smart guy. He's a tough basketball player. It's the physical side that obviously is going to go a long way in determining what kind of season he can have, what kind of career he can have. So as far as all that's concerned, the East Bay dunk, I consider one in the win column.
All right, so Pat Boylan's got you covered. He's with the Fever, the voice of the Fever on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Thanks for making the time today, man. We'll check back in again soon, Pat.
Of course, Sean. Good to chat with you as always.
Pat Boylan on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Kevin Bowen coming up at the top of the hour. Quote, it should get every player, every coach, every fan base hope, vision, and belief that it can happen. Who said that regarding IU football? We'll answer that coming up. Don't go anywhere. Kevin Bowen, top of the hour. We've got State Fair passes also coming up. This is 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. Sit tight. John here for Mark Dito. Mark Dito Realty, the best in realty, always at your service, no matter what you need, at 317-755-4232. MarkDietel.com, MarkDietel.com today. Nobody better. In fact, Mark Dito, the only real estate expert I trust and recommend with the sale of my home. Mark Dito guarantees your home sold at a mutually agreed upon price and deadline, or he will buy it. Pick your move date. There are no long-term contracts, and you can cancel at any time. Mark Dito Realty today. Tell him I sent you. 317-755-4232. That's MarkDietel.com, MarkDietel.com.
The Ride with JMV.
This situation absolutely requires a really futile and stupid gesture be done on somebody's part. We're just the guys to do it.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Gives, if you look at it in the landscape of college football, it should give every player, every coach, every fan base hope, vision, and belief that it can happen.
Boilermaker football coach Barry Odom earlier today. I gave you the quote, and that was the originator, Barry Odom, regarding the IU football program. I'm not suggesting at all this is a big deal. I'm just curious if any IU basketball coach had ever said that about Matt Painter. Well, now I know it's different because IU came from the depths, the laughing stock, the doormat, all that. So it's different. And I wonder how Boilermaker fans take that. Now, obviously, if you're able to put together something and something special and move that needle again with Boilermaker football, then who cares how you get there, right? Just curious what Boilermaker fans might feel about that. Now, again, I'm not suggesting it's not accurate because it is 100% accurate. In this landscape, if that program can do it in football, holy hell. On the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline, speaking of holy hell and more, he's alongside our good friend James Boyd in the morning, Fan Morning Show, which has been staked out for the past couple of days now and will be for the foreseeable future for the final time at Grand Park in Westfield for Colts camp. Kevin Bowen joins us now. Does that surprise you at all that Barry Odom would frame that up in a quote the way that he did regarding the Boilermaker rival?
No, I think. Have you had him on yet, John?
No,
you had him on a couple times
I've had him
year.
on. I've had him on once before. The same with Cignetti. I've had him on both once, and that's it.
Yeah, I think we had Barry on this time last year, and then maybe back in the spring as well. And we asked him something similar, and I think he handles the question quite well. I mean, yes, you have to acknowledge it and all of that. I'm sure there's a little bit of I just am sick and tired of talking about my rival, but welcome a little bit, I think, to the reality of the situation. Obviously the UNLV James Madison thing, maybe is slightly different, resource-wise. Again, where are you at financially? Indiana and Purdue, I don't believe they're on the same rung. From that aspect of it. So I think that's something you probably have to acknowledge too. But obviously a massive year. I mean, last year, I guess they crawled maybe. They certainly weren't walking, but, Ryan Walters definitely had them in a very baby state when he took over there. So, yeah, you got to get some Big Ten wins. I mean, the schedule still is really tough. I mean, Notre Dame in the non-conference, I want to say, I think they still got Wake Forest maybe. I mean, they haven't gone the full, cake in the non-conference like some other Big Ten teams have here. But certainly when they get into conference play, they've got to, A, be more competitive across the slate, and then, B, you got to finish a few of those off.
Kurt Cignetti meets with the media, by the way, coming up tomorrow. And Zach Osterman, who is up there, will join us, and we will converse about that on tomorrow's show. But Kevin Bowen is with us. So you mentioned crawling and hopefully walking and all that. How much of that analogy can you put to Daniel Jones right now in day number one coming back from that injury?
Yeah, I mean, he definitely did more than he did in the spring. Again, the 11-on-11 drills would be a clear step forward. He took all of them today during practice. And then he had, I would say, probably 3 or 4 specific plays where he actually was in 11-on-11, moving out of the pocket, throwing the football. He had a scramble, which, again, that is something that the Colts weren't even really allowing him to do in the spring period. So, again, positive steps in the right direction. There was certainly right now the personnel that he has at wideout versus the corners he's going up against, it's really subpar, frankly. And Javarius Ward and Sauce Gardner definitely showed that today. It was kind of a rough final period of work for the starting offense. But, if you're just looking at Jones individually for late July, Achilles rehab, all of it, I think you have to be pretty pleased with where he's at.
All right. You mentioned it, too, and the clock is ticking on the get back of Alec Pierce, which is going to be incredibly necessary because it seemed as how you described it and others up there watching practice today that the wide receiving group was somewhat swamped by those in the corner, whether it was Mooney or Sauce Gardner.
Yeah, especially, again, that third and final team period. It was Daniel Jones tried to throw into, I think it was Laquan Treadwell on the far side of the field, and Mooney ate that up. I thought he nearly picked it off. And then might have been the next play or a couple plays later, they had Josh Downs lined up outside. And again, you're asking him to do some of that, and Sauce Gardner pretty much did the same thing, which, again, Sauce and Mooney went out there, top flight corners in this league. And right now, your wideout group is just not that. And again, you're asking a guy like Downs, when he's not in the slot, to do some things that we're unsure of if he can do at the NFL level. So you certainly need Pierce back. It doesn't sound like he's coming back for at least a week or two. And then, of course, the old veteran free agent and, how much you look into that. I get you can scheme some things up with Shane Steichen and, game planning on a Sunday allow Shane to, be at his best. And Tyler Warren definitely had a couple of nice moments early in practice, but it is a wideout group right now that's I think leaves you wanting more.
What surprises you more right now, that they haven't brought anybody of significance in yet, or that former player Kenny Moore remains unsigned?
That's a good one. I guess you can make case for either. I think anytime you get a veteran this time of year, it's kind of always curious, like, how does that veteran view things?
Right.
Is that veteran saying, hey, I only have so much left in the tank. I don't necessarily want to be somewhere late July when, we're still a month and a half away from the start of the season. Does the veteran sit there and say, I'm waiting for the big injury? I mean, we see it everywhere around the league. Every position group has one or two of those during training camp. Are you kind of waiting for that? But as far as the Colts are concerned, it was a question I wanted to ask Chris Ballard on Tuesday was, is Alec Pierce's status impacting your pursuit, or in this case right now, the lack of the pursuit of the veteran wideout? Because if you look at the offseason, John, they obviously lost, several notable Colts. But in Pittman's case, they really didn't replace him with anything of big-time resource. Nick Westbrook-Akine, a free agent signing, but again, he's largely been a journeyman. They didn't draft a wideout till pick 254 in the draft, and Deion Burks is certainly not viewed like Michael Pittman Jr., which, again, that is different from how they're trying to replace Zaire Franklin, or how they're trying to replace Kenny Moore, or how they're trying to replace Nick Cross. I mean, you have some pretty frontline draft picks with all of those guys defensively, and you don't really have that at wideout. So, it sounds like based off what Ballard said, it's not as much of a Pierce injury situation. It's more to do with we want to see what the other guys can show us. So Ashton Dulin, Laquan Treadwell, Nick Westbrook-Akine, come on down, and you're going to get great opportunity here early in camp, and it's your job to try and prove to the Colts they don't need to go out there and get anybody.
Yeah, well, and that maybe you're just kind of waiting. You mentioned what's left in the tank, and if it's somebody, for example, like Keenan Allen that has had a past with Shane Steichen, and the application would not be as advanced as it might be with somebody else. Then we talking about contractually, how much money can you save by waiting, and I'm sure there's probably something fixed in all this as to the reason why you haven't addressed it, because between you and I here, there's no way they're not going to have to. There's just zero way.
Right, and again, to me, like, you have to acknowledge where Pierce is at as well.
Right.
And they're sitting on plenty of cap space. I mean, if you want to play the finances game, I get you might want to save a little bit for an extension or two, but still, I mean, they're on, Caleb can look it up, I don't know, $25, $30 million in cap space right now. So, whatever Keenan Allen would cost, whatever one of these veteran wideouts would cost.
They're running lean anyway, brother. You know what I mean? It just seems like that in a lot of facets they're trying to run lean.
Yeah, and like, I understand there is an element of, like, yes, I get Tyler Warren can help you out there. I get that Shane Steichen can kind of scheme some things up there. but you're just so dependent on pristine health with Pierce, Downs, and Warren. If one of those guys were to go down, you need to program, if you're sitting there in section 115, 615, whatever, to know who's running out there at wide receiver. I said this in the spring, and I kind of heard a few of my colleagues say it to me, and I share the same sentiment today. When you watch the receiver group run out there with the starting offense right now, you're a little caught off guard thinking, wait, that should be the second group of wideouts. But no, without Pierce right now, it's Josh Downs and those guys. So, again, they're getting a great opportunity, but it makes me, I would think, a little uneasy to sleep at night.
So, 31 million is the number you asked for, by the way. I, according to Caleb, it's funny. I look at Chris Ballard, and I think it was you that asked the question yesterday that, no, I didn't, he wouldn't sign the extension. I'm paraphrasing here, but at least what I gather is that he wouldn't sign it because he still has something to prove. He's got to win, which I kind of wonder how weird that is if a contract was actually offered to you. I'm not suggesting that it is, but if he were offered an extension and he wouldn't do it, that may be the most questionable move he's ever performed while here for 10 years. To me, at least, why would you not do that if it were offered? So obviously, to me, it wasn't. The other thing that's weird about this is you mentioned the cap room that they have and me saying that they're running lean. It's really odd considering the circumstances and how he phrased it to you yesterday. Hey, the time is now, and not going all in the moment. Why do you think that they're still very much running cost efficiently in what could be the final stand for him? And when they have some money to burn and some situations you would like to increase the value of, why would they not be in? Is that something from ownership, or is that just the way that Chris Ballard is still operating even under these circumstances?
Yeah, I think it's a great point that you bring up. I don't know if you remember, John, back, I think it was maybe right before the draft when Ballard had a press conference, and he kind of got snippy with me about the salary cap when I asked him a cap-related question, ironically very similar to what we're talking about right now, in why are they sitting on so much of this cap. And, I think what he was getting at outside of the snark was, it's more of a cash over cap, and the cap being more of an accounting method type of deal here. So again, to me, that would be a little bit more top-down organizationally when it comes to that, and probably more of an ownership thing. And they obviously shelved out a whole lot of money to Daniel Jones and Alec Pierce this offseason. But I guess where I have some confusion is, like, they clearly were ready to do something for Trey Hendrickson, something of, significant financial note. And, I remember when they signed Arden Key, I probably said it to you, I certainly said it in the mornings, to me the Arden Key move needed to be a move, not the move at defensive end. Well, it ended up being the move. And if you were out at Grand Park today, you saw what we saw in the spring. Arden Key taking the starting reps there. And it's not like they came back in the draft and then, they took a DN in round 2 or round 3 and, and tried to find that. They didn't draft one until George Gumbs there in the middle round 5 and Caden Curry in the middle round 6. So, yeah, I don't. It's a great question. It's a fair question. I don't really understand that because to me, when I hear higher sense of urgency back in January, and then I watch how the next 7-8 months have unfolded for the organization, I think I'm missing the urgent actions of where that occurred. If you just did an addition-subtraction game, it's a lot banking on in-house development. It's a lot banking on, rookies, frankly, being, relatively instant impact guys for you. So, yeah, I don't have a great answer for you there.
Kev, man, they do a lot of things that would make you wonder what they're thinking about financially and what is the ultimate of importance. You know what I mean? And we've all asked this before. Nobody really truly knows. But, a lot of the things on and off the field that kind of makes you wonder. I know you're right. They handed out money to a quarterback and a wide receiver, but essentially you kind of had to. I don't know what other alternative you had. They made that deal, which, compromised the short-term future. They probably would have started all over again had they not made that trade deadline deal for Sauce Gardner. So you're kind of soaking in it, and you'd have to do it anyway. But they do take some measures that kind of make you wonder exactly financially what the thought is here. And if the pocketbook is as wide open as they talked about it being, prior to the unfortunate passing of Jim Irsay.
Right, and again, last offseason, John, I did think we saw different. Travarius Ward and Cam Bynum. But when Mooney came on with you last spring, I mean, he told you the story.
Yeah.
That he thought he was going to be a Saint, and that was kind of the hometown team. And then the Colts came in and sweetened the offer, and that's very anti-Colts. And so when I heard that, it was like, okay, this is different. This is the Colts saying enough is enough. We need to do some things differently. Whether that's ownership, whether that's Ballard's nature, maybe both of them going hand in hand here. But that was clearly something different from them. But again, this offseason, you really didn't get that. So, yeah, it's certainly a bit head-scratching. The financial questions, I think, are fair. And, something I asked Carly Ursay-Gordon earlier in the offseason was just kind of met with, we'll do anything, it takes to win, or however you want to phrase it. But I think that is a question that a lot of people do have organizationally when you're ranking, maybe the 32 respective ownership groups across the league.
It seems like there's, at the very least, right, it's mixed messaging if we're trying to read it. Because you go for it at the trade deadline. You go for it in the moment with quarterback and wide receiver, but you still have glaring needs that clearly you could have and maybe even tried to address that you haven't, thus sitting on, that pot of gold, so to speak, right now. It's just really odd, if nothing else.
Well, and again, a lot of this, I think, for me, goes back to the Hendrickson thing. Like, I'm trying to think of like a proper analogy as we approach dinner time here, but like, call Trey Hendrickson going to the downtown steakhouse. Well, I mean, if you're starving and for some reason all the downtown steakhouses are closed, you're still going to find your way to Steak and Shake there at the corner of, whatever, Maryland and Illinois. I mean, you're still going to do something to satisfy your hunger. And really, again, they didn't do much at all at defensive end. And it puts, ample pressure on Latu. It puts pressure on DeForest Buckner, which, that was obviously good news yesterday in regards to him at least, being able to practice here early in camp. So, yeah, it was an odd off season, I think, for the Colts, because calling it, I hear this from fans. They've often labeled it, run it back. I get where they're coming from, because there's not a lot of really new free agent faces, but it's also not really run it back because they've lost like 7 starters that add up to more than 500 starts. But again, how they've replaced them is just a lot of rookie class guys that they're going to need day one, impact from, and/or, in-house development here. So, yeah, I mean, we'll obviously see how it all plays out.
Repping the Fan Morning Show, Kevin Bowen, he and James will be back up at Grant Park in Westfield again coming up tomorrow morning. So we'll Query and Company basically 7 until 10, and then 10 until 1. And then an Eisen and a crap load of PSAs before I come on at 3 tomorrow afternoon on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. All right, here's another weird one. You ready? And this, listen, I'm not shocked by really anything anymore. But I thought that there was a lot more doom and gloom surrounding DeForest Buckner all off season. And then I kind of wondered why yesterday with his dialogue. You agree?
Yeah, I think there was maybe a little bit like organizational protecting of him, and, neck injuries and nerves are generally uncertain. And so, yeah, I think there was just kind of a tentative nature for, what you're really committing, to with him in a timetable. And again, I think that's why I said, a few minutes ago, to me, that was the surprising good news. And I still think there is a little bit of an unknown to it. They are definitely going to ease him into this. And, when you hear Buckner's words, I mean, New Year's Eve surgery, he can't pick up his toddler-age children. He's mentioned the need to possibly have to change his technique to play a position that he's played very well for a decade. I mean, you usually don't hear that from guys coming off surgery. Like Alex Pierce is not going to be saying that whenever he gets back out there, or, insert your other guys that have had, surgeries here this off season. So, I think it was a little bit of just kind of the nature of neck and nerve and all of that. Buckner, of course, is a guy that frankly just hasn't missed really any time in his NFL career. But now it's a back and it's a neck, and he's got to go to Panama and stem cell and, again, a very serious surgery. So I think that's probably where some of that came from. But yeah, I was surprised to see, he didn't do much today, to be clear, but still the fact that he was out there and cleared is obviously a good sign.
Did the kicking battle get underway today?
Nothing on the kicking battle.
Where's my I'm a groupie. Where's my little guy?
He's got some swagger to him. Oh yeah, he's got some swagger to him, to say the least.
He's got a Napoleon complex like crazy, doesn't he?
He definitely he definitely has a little bit of a he doesn't act like he's 5'7" out there.
I like him though, man. I like the little dude. I like him.
Well, kickers mentally, give me the cockiest what all day long. If you get the old mental what at kicker, that's a disaster waiting to happen. So I mean, they did in the spring, which again, Spencer Schrader was a month and a half ago, still coming back from the serious leg injury, but he did miss a couple kicks in that spring session. The one thing to note, and I know it sounds weird because it's kicker, but they don't kick every day, and so you got 13 practices up here. My guess is they'll kick 4 or 5 times. So, when you do kick, I mean, it carries a little bit more weight than your safety competition where, those are kind of daily battles there. So, yeah, right now I kind of like Blake Grupe. I mean, after what he did in Seattle last year, it's hard not to like. Granted, Spencer Schrader he missed 1 kick, I think he did, in his, 5-game, 6-game Colts sample size last year too.
Hey, if you have him on, I want him on. I would not try to take his Lucky Charms.
Grupe?
Yeah. He's magically delicious. No, come on. You get the because he kind of he's reminiscent of Lucky Charms.
Yeah. I follow you there.
If I referenced him as that, you think that he would he embrace that nickname or reject it?
Boy, I'm gonna guess that he's been asked enough size comments over his years on this earth. Or I mean, that's quite the stretch there. I'm giving you credit.
Thanks a lot.
And attempting that, but yeah, I'm gonna
call him Lucky. I think we need to have a kicker that's nicknamed Lucky. Lucky.
Dude, you can call him a 4-letter word as long as the ball goes through the uprights,
There's
right?
no doubt. I do like the dude a lot, though, and I agree with you on the whole swagger thing. And the problem is, as a kicker, the swagger oftentimes, or the confidence with those around you, is completely gone after 1 miss. That's really all it takes. Right. 1 miss.
Well, again, I mean, he struggled in New Orleans earlier last year, and he had been a solid kicker through his first couple years, and then boom, he was able to kick at a super high level once he got here. So it's a question I've asked myself: what would net more in a trade right now, the loser of the Colts kicker competition or Anthony Richardson? I think it's actually a
that's even worse. That's worse than my Lucky reference right there. Yeah.
I think it's a fair and an utterly pathetic debate, but I actually think it's a good debate. What would net more in a trade around the league right now?
Would that hurt your feelings if Schrader is the odd man out? Because you're a Notre Dame guy. Would you cry? Well, something, I guess. He's a Notre Dame guy too, I guess. So I guess you're happy either way.
I mean, Brian Mason, the special teams coordinator, he's got all the Notre Dame dudes. So the Zionsville product and Brian Mason, he's gone to his.
So no wonder you don't care. No wonder you don't care. They're both Notre Dame guys. And listen, even more so with Lucky. That makes complete sense now.
I say
from Lucky Charms. I'm good. Hey, he may. I don't know if I ever had my ass whipped by somebody 5'5", but it may happen.
Well, save that for when you're out here to join practice.
Yeah, I will.
I want to see that in person.
Remember last year when I asked Kenny Moore about his medical situation, and he said something about HIPAA, and you shouldn't ask me that, and then the fan base just absolutely unloaded on me. They said he hates your guts. And then he had to get on. He got on social media and said, "No, I don't hate him. We get along great." So
yeah, that got awkward real quick.
It was really awkward. Yeah.
I had one of those with Michael Badgley last year. So remember, Badgley was the kicker after Schrader before Groupie.
Yeah.
And Badgley comes in, and that was one of those big kicker tryouts. They had 7 or 8 guys in here to kick, and Badgley used to be with the Colts. So I was kind of curious, like, where have you been? What's it like, being a kicker that kind of does these Tuesday tryouts around the league, and then you get the call and you win it, and it could save your NFL career. So I asked Badgley where he'd been kicking, and he got all snippy, thinking like I was asking him like his home address. And I was like, oh, geez, man, no, I'm not trying to steal your Amazon packages here. I'm just trying to get a little color to the story. So, let's just say maybe when Badgley missed a kick or two, I maybe didn't have as much sympathy for him.
I am a groupie right here. That's me. I'm a groupie.
I love it. I love it. Sign me up for that.
Hey, DAZN, would you be down with that? Does this sound like something you'd be interested in if the Pacers end up with that content provider this season?
No, it sounds like an absolute ridiculous price point. What are we, $29.99?
Yeah,
$34.99?
Can you imagine running people off with that price tag? Wow.
And I'm going to do this on the morning show tomorrow. I don't know if you guys have already done this, but just have Caleb or you go through the prices for these streaming services. Like, when you start reading off the prices for Peacock or Amazon or Paramount Plus, I mean, we're talking like $14, $9.99, maybe some close to $20, and you're watching, or you have the opportunity to watch, many, many different things. Pacer fans are not wanting DAZN to watch Mortal Kombat stuff or Serie A soccer or whatever else. I enjoyed the Austin Karp listen earlier from you guys. It's just awful by the league that it's come to this, and I really wish TV or whatever, WTHR, somebody locally would be the boat that we're going to go to here, but yeah, it doesn't sound like that's going to be happening.
DAZN. How much do you guys spend a month for your content?
We go. We got YouTube TV. We made the switch like 4 months ago. I was a cord guy for a long, long time, and I finally realized I should stop doing that. So I mean, what's that? $80 a month, I think, and then we probably have, I don't know, 2 or 3 of the others, maybe 3 or 4. So. Yeah, I mean, 150 all said, maybe. So, all of a sudden, if you tack, whatever, $34 on 7 months of that, I mean, that's $200-some that, I mean, that's well over more than what I'm paying right now.
I pay $300 a month for DirecTV. I don't even get porn with that either.
I was going to ask you if you got the XXX on that one.
Nope, I do. And here's the thing.
They should be filming those things at your house for $300.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's exactly what they need to do right there. One of these days I might be begging for that. I will tell you this. I just want this to be easy, and I want to go home and know that I hit a button and boom, there it is. If it's much more than that and it's much more costly than that, you're going to run so many people away, and it's going to be tough to get them back. And these are 2 very important seasons coming up here for the blue and gold.
Yeah, I agree on that. And just the last thing I would add, John, is I would feel so much better or whatever, swallow my pride in this situation, if just the price point made sense. Like, I get that we are streaming everything virtually in today's world of sports. I understand that. $34.99 when you start to compare that to the other streaming services.
Would it be cheaper to buy season tickets? Would it be cheaper to buy season tickets way up top, or at least a half season package?
Certainly,
yeah,
some sort of package there. Yeah, I mean, definitely on that front there. So, Yeah, to me, it's just a huge, huge bummer if this is the route and that's the price point that we go. And I feel for our guy, I feel for Chris and JJ, and obviously they're still gonna have jobs, is my assumption, but still, it shouldn't come off as a reflection on them, and they've been tossed around in this like no other. So I really feel for them.
We are groupies here on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Kevin Bowen of the Fan Morning Show here in James have you from Westfield coming up tomorrow morning starting at 7, followed by Aquarian Company at 10 o'clock once again. And I'll be out there on the 20th of August, my only time out there. So the only time Groupie's going to have a chance to get after me is on the 20th. Good luck, Groupie.
Getting your ass beat by a 5'7" kicker. I can't wait for that.
Hey, hold on here a second, okay, pal? Hold on. I'm going to post him up. Buddy. Tell Maddie and the fam I said, hey.
Thanks, John. I appreciate it.
Kevin Bowen, Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Weather update, Fox 59. Now.
Another terrific night. A refreshing breeze blowing. Humidity is low, down to 59 for a low under clear skies. Sunshine and 87 Thursday, but rain chances return on Friday and into the weekend. I'm Fox 59 Chief Meteorologist Brian Wilkes for The Fan.
The Ride with JMV.
And you're nothing but a chameleon, lemon-headed, coward, terrorist, and I'm after you, buddy. You're going to pay for it. Good night.
Thank you very much, sir.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Caleb coming back with Good Fortune. I believe off the self-titled debut album of Madonna. This is Lucky Star. I believe that album back in 1983 is celebrating an anniversary this week. Did you look that up, Caleb? Self-titled album Madonna. 1983, I believe Lucky Star, Borderline were both a part of this. Is this accurate?
Those are the first two songs
Oh,
on
hell
the album.
yeah, they were.
1983 is correct.
You're not going to know enough about Madonna if you tried to track down in 1985 both the Playboy and the Penthouse editions in the summertime that she was a part of. And then, unfortunately, when you saw them, you were scarred for life. Tom Lewis, Indy Cornrows, I agree with you. That is at the top of the list of Madonna songs for me. Lucky Star, Live to Tell from the film At Close Range is incredibly awesome. And I can't lie, it's kind of weird, but I don't mind Dress You Up. My top three right there, Tommy. Are you a groupie like the host of this show is right here?
Is there room on the bandwagon, John?
You can jump on the bandwagon with me and you and groupie. I don't know if Kevin was. Kevin never said.
Yeah, he wouldn't really go there,
No.
did he? I here's my thing. I was saying this earlier, John. Like in terms of the closeness of a position battle at camp that the Colts are destined to have this year. Like last year was quarterback. This year it's kicker. Like you kind of just don't know which way it's gonna go. And both guys had moments last year, and I'm actually interested to see how that plays out because we know in the NFL, John, like it matters who's kicking the football. These games come down to so many different times. They come down to late game kicks, so it matters. I mean, it's not the most glamorous thing in the world, but it definitely is important.
Kicked that go-ahead 60-yarder in Seattle with 40 seconds left. And then the Colts lost 18-16, which was very Colts. Pretty awesome.
Is it ever hard for you to think back to last year and just because I do this every once in a while, John?
Yeah.
I'm like, Phillip Rivers really played
He did.
quarterback.
It was
like that
the
actually
weirdest
happened.
thing. And it was celebrated, but it was celebrated not for the reasons that are necessary to celebrate. It was like, hey, here's a part of here's a show we're putting on right here. And it just and I like him a great deal, but it was weird. It was really weird. It was like, this is how prepared everybody is. Okay.
I think
Weird.
locally, that's exactly how a lot of people felt. But then nationally, you had a lot of people coming, oh my gosh, this is the greatest story in the world.
Yeah.
But I think locally, we all felt like this is where we've gotten, like really. And I just have to remind myself that actually happened last year. Like it did.
Actually happened. And there's a reason why that you've got to put together some results. It just, Kevin and I had that conversation in the early stages, if you missed any of that, about, you do sit on salary cap room you can utilize. And if you know that you have glaring weaknesses right now, can you not try to do something about it? Or why wouldn't you, especially when you know, and he just said it yesterday, and Chris Ballard, I mean, as Kenny Loggins said, this is it. And as to what level do you have to show? I've suggested you make the postseason, but then how do you look making the postseason? How do you look once you get there? There are going to be a lot of denominators here that I think are going to end up in making the postseason is just the lowest level here. That is, the one way that you can even debate or think about whether or not you stay stinking again. I hate to put it this way because this is not a good way to describe it, but it is just odd. It is just odd. From Nick, JMV, Rich Carlos with some barefoot field goals, too. I'll tell you what, if Groupie was a barefoot kicker, it'd be even more impressive to me. And no mistake in that. Even more. But you're right about that. JMV, $35 a month for DAZN. I'm off to buy a season ticket. There's no way. You will run so many people off. If you missed the conversation with Austin Karp we had a little bit earlier, Sports Business Journal, regarding DAZN, he was not all doom and gloom about it. He presented it as they could put something together which everybody would enjoy. But if you just look at the price tag right now, there's not anybody enjoying that. Nobody. And again, there is nothing concrete. It is just his report that among the New York teams and a handful of other NBA teams, the Pacers are one that would be in the process of utilizing as their content provider DAZN. And DAZN, most notably, is an English company, as Austin Karp told us, owned by a billionaire. But if you look at the price tag it takes to get their content right now, it is not something that people around here are going to do. Can't have it. You have to be cost efficient at the lowest of levels, but you also have to be easy. Make it easy. All this stuff, it's not just me being old and lacking knowledge of the ways and the means of today's technology. So much of this is jacked up. It was like our app earlier, just jacked up. This is a shout for everybody. Make it easier, or you're going to lose folks, and folks are going to find something else to do. Just a guess. Actually, it's an educated guess, so feel confident that it's accurate. JMV, Ballard has gone into every single season with at least two glaring holes at a few positions and never addresses them. And we all say we need a vet sign for depth, yet he never does. Now, we're the ones that say that, Elvis. He doesn't say that. So I'm assuming they believe what they have right now is going to be adequate. I just find that incredibly difficult to believe, as do most of you out there. I would say. Yeah, thank you guys for hanging in today, too. Yeah, I know we had a little bit of issues with the app. It was weird, right? So about 40 minutes prior to the show, all of a sudden power just goes out everywhere. I still think on IBC they're dealing with some situations there. I don't know what the hell happens. It's not like it's hot and humid and there's a lot of AC. It was weird. Just power went out. Poof, gone. But we do seem to be back up right now, which is a damn good thing. JMV, good to be back with you in the afternoons. Car rider line duty started again today. Looking forward to the football season. Have a great show, my friend. That's Dave in Beech Grove. Shout out to you, Dave. Thank you. Glad to have you back. It's outstanding. So, I didn't know this until it was passed along to me. Evidently, Grand Park is now title sponsored. Is this true, Caleb?
I just saw that email come
Drop
through
Light
as well.
Grand Park. Let me tell you this. If you're up in Westfield, just tell me. When we have a direct line to one another, tell me that it's Drop Light Grand Park. So how many times have I said it today? Can I make up for it here in the time we have remaining? And a little...
I don't even think it was that much, honestly. Yeah. Let's
Drop
do it then,
Light Grand Park. Drop Light Grand Park. Make sure you guys know. It's great. JMV, the app is now working. The app is working, which is fantastic. Fever winner last night. Pat Boylan a little bit earlier. They're on the road in Portland coming up on Friday night. That is a late one, 9:30 pregame coverage right here. 10 p.m. is the tip time. And I'm going to tell you, the gauge of gauges, Olivia Miles, man. She's got game.
Her between the legs
That
pass.
was
Did you
a
see that?
nice look.
Oh, my gosh.
Do you dig the goggles look right there, too? I think I dig the goggles look.
I think it's perfect for the way she plays.
Yes. I like the goggles look.
It just makes sense.
It makes. I think it makes her look even more sleek and quick. Yeah, that between the legs pass was pretty good last night. The Minnesota Lynx on the road for the Fever. That is a Sunday afternoon affair. 12:30 pregame coverage right here. 1 o'clock is that tip time from Minnesota. Yeah, the goggles look I can get down with. How many goggles looks do we have out there of notable players? Not too many people going, not too many players going with the goggles anymore. And we would call those goggles, right?
Yes.
They're not exactly the Abdul-Jabbar Rec Specs back in the day, but they are a sleek version of goggles. Now, do you wear goggles when you play? You don't wear your glasses when you play, do you?
No, I don't.
Huh.
I know. That is a type of.
That is something.
But hey, it works for me, though.
Yeah,
I'm
it
fine.
does. Going to be hooping a little bit later on tonight for a while, too.
Yes,
Our
sir.
good friends over at Greenwood Christian. And I had a good time last night, but I didn't really get a lot out of it. By the way, we love Trace Jackson Davis. Trace Jackson Davis played with us last night. He was incredibly dominant. I didn't get enough sweat. So my knees are a little sore today, but I'm going to go there and try to run a little bit more and get out a little bit sweat. Because, I'm always trying to work at a caloric deficit. I'll throw that in from about 8 until 10 coming up later on tonight. And Caleb will be a part of that. All right, State Fair passes coming up on the other side. The State Fair. I've got passes. We've got a short segment before the top, and then about 8.5 of Anything Goes coming up after the top of the hour. State Fair passes on the other side. Anything goes after the top of the hour. Zach Osterman from Chicago. Kurt Signetti meets with the Big Ten media assembled coming up tomorrow. Barry Odom a little bit earlier today. We've had it all covered for you. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan. GLP-1 weight loss injections right here in Indy. Have you heard about it? I've talked about it now for a couple of years, actually over 2 years in, and have never felt this good. Seriously, never in my life, not at any moment have I felt this good. At the age of 56 and a half, thanks to Premier Weight Loss. Thomas and Lauren and Samantha at your service right now. And what is exceptional about this, you can go in and do all that is necessary. They're going to keep you goal-oriented. But here's what else you can do. You can do this virtually, and you can save big by going virtually right now at Premier Weight Loss and get started on your very own weight loss journey. Not everybody's going to be alike on this, but I tell you, if you do the work alongside, you are going to see the results. That's PWLindy.com on the north side, 317-643-4444, and in Fishers at 317-567-9100. They will make sure you maintain being goal-oriented on your very own weight loss journey. By the way, too, cosmetic features include electronic body shaping. They can do that for you. That works, too. Botox and skin tightening. That and more at Premier Weight Loss. Log on today. Make sure you tell them I sent you. That's PWLND.com. Andy Moore Buick GMC, 131st State Road 37. That is in Fishers. His name is Eric Wilson. Eric Wilson is going to help you find exactly the vehicle that you're looking for. Buick is the car manufacturer that is hot right now, and you're going to love the Buick Enclave. I promise you that, in a various number of styles. And here's what's really efficient for you. The entire car buying experience with Eric Wilson starts with the inventory that they have, which is exactly what you're looking for. But incentives to buy, those are coupons to help save you money on any of those styles. And you're going to find something with the Buick Enclave, the SUV, that will fit your category. You just will. And you're going to get the service after the sale, which is now more than ever incredibly necessary. It is full service you're going to get with my friend Eric Wilson and Andy Moore Buick GMC. Let them know that I sent you today. 131st State Road 37 in Fishers.
The Ride with JMV.
Here's Johnny. Don't. David Letterman. Hi, David. I'm Grandpa. Don't.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
All right, want to do State Fair passes right here? We got a couple of minutes remaining before the top of the hour. Some anything goes after that, about 8.5 minutes of it. Colts Daily Update, and then we've got Fever Weekly coming up at the bottom of the hour, too. Caleb's over there. I'm John. All right, here's what we're going to do. We're going to give somebody the opportunity. You want to do text line or phones? What did we promise yesterday? I can't remember.
You promised phones because we've done text the first 2
All
days.
right, let's go ahead and light the lamp on the phones right now. Let's go number 10. 239-1070. State Fair passes. Did you see Warrant and Vixen? We lost the Beach Boys and Brett Michaels, but evidently gained Warrant and Vixen at the State Fair. Couple of passes for you. Number 9, 317-239-1070. The Indiana State Fair. And remember, on August the 20th, friend of the show, Gene Simmons, will be performing live on stage. And that is free. And we're going to get you in free with the price of admission dash because you're going to win tickets right here. The Indiana State Fair. 239-1070. Number 10, or check that, number 9 is going to be the winner. Anything goes. Coming up on the other side. Is Troy on hold? Hey, Troy, did you just win? Did I hear this accurately? Are you number 9?
Yes, sir. I think I'm the winner.
Well done, Troy. What do you want out of this Indiana State Fair visit right here, pal? What are you thinking about?
Probably mainly the food.
The food.
Oh, yeah.
I have seen it. They've got some big cheeseburger with a lot of stuff on it, like usual, and a lot of deep-fried stuff. You got a favorite deep-fried dish?
I'm not a big fan of deep
Troy, do you roll
so...
around eating a corn dog while you're at the State Fair? Is that you?
My kids eat the corn dog.
Well done, pal. That's well done. All right, hey, I'm going to let Caleb get all the info that he can gather from you. Congrats, and thanks for calling, and thanks for listening.
Thank you, sir.
You got it. Troy's the winner. State Fair passes. We got more coming up for you tomorrow and more time on the show. We've got about 8.5 minutes of Anything Goes at 239-1070. That is coming up on the other side. You guys sit tight. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
The Ride with JMV.
Well, we're waiting.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
All right, you guys want to rock some Anything Goes right here at 239-1070? We can. So Pete Nakos was on the show yesterday of On 3. He had, see you later, Hammer, a report, Caleb, that Indiana edge Tristan Abram has entered the NCAA transfer portal. Now, I don't know a great deal about him. I think he was like third on the depth chart. Redshirt freshman. Third, is that right? Third on the depth chart from St. Louis, Missouri. 6'3", 236 is what he is. That was within the last, 30 minutes to an hour or so.
Didn't know that people were entering the portal at this time of year. I got to be honest.
Much like this particular segment, I think most anything goes when it comes to that. Makes perfectly good sense. But that was from our new friend and our new really good source, Pete Nakos of On 3. A little bit earlier. That was really nice. Good show today, too. I appreciate Kevin Bowen joining us a little bit earlier. Fan Morning Show is going to be out again at the Droplight Grand Park tomorrow morning, 7 until 10, and then Query & Company after that, coming up from 10 until 1. I think we're going to have Caden Curry on the show tomorrow, the former Center Grove standout from Ohio State, the rookie coming in. I'll let you know once I do solidify that. I have, and I don't know if this is going to be something live, I have asked for Blake Groupie. Now, because this is, you can say what you want about kickers, this is somewhat of an interesting, and certainly as positional battles go with the Colts, would you consider this a high-profile positional battle?
I mean, in terms of the Colts in 2026, yes, but I don't think anybody else cares about the kicking
I know,
battle
I may be the only one right here.
No,
Maybe the
I
only
do.
one.
I'm saying outside of this city. I think people should care about it here. It's interesting. But, yeah, it's not like a starting quarterback battle.
Yeah. Skivvy says, you know that the streaming's working now because it sounded like JMV said the sex line on the phones, or the phones. So when I say the text line, it sounds like I say the sex line.
I guess so.
Yeah, they both work for me, brother. The sex. Hey, join us on the sex line. Beautiful. AT in Zionsville says, I'm also Team Blake Groupie. Oh, I'm sorry. All the best to Blake Groupie. Team Spencer all the way there. I understand. Do the Colts spend the night anywhere up there? I believe that they stay in a hotel up there. And at any point during camp or the longer part of it, they do stay up there. And the thing that's going to be curious to see how they handle it next year when they're no longer at Droplight Grand Park and back on site, West 56th Street, and how often they're out so you guys can see. It just doesn't seem like they have enough room over there. Enough space for you, if you will. I would doubt that a great deal. But we shall see. I would assume they go around to various sites, maybe the Butler Bowl, maybe down to UIndy, Lucas Oil Stadium, things of that nature coming up next year. You got to put something together. This is going to be widely missed. Because you know there are a lot of people that go out to these events, go out to these Colts camp events. They don't often get the opportunity to go to games. So this is going to be something that's missed. Yes, Caleb.
Well, I was going to say, just on top of this, like I'm so glad that we had the conversation we had earlier because it really does feel like in this world, there are just more and more things that are tougher to get to in terms of sporting events. And it's not just watching. Like you said, this whole Grand Park thing, which you've been on for a couple weeks now, it's a great thing for the fans. There's free days out there. Like, those are the things that,
True.
we love, and it feels like those opportunities are less and less now.
Yeah, dwindling. You don't want to make this incredibly difficult or more difficult than it is right now, to make sure that your fan base especially is able to digest your content here. And it just seems like we live in that world where that is now more than ever a universal difficulty, which is an incredible problem, to say the least. If you missed Austin Karp talking about the Pacers and DAZN situation, which could be their season-long content provider, it's been reported the Pacers, along with a handful of NBA teams, will end up choosing DAZN. Now, we'll see if that's the case or not. But I didn't know too much about it. Not a lot of people, unless you are a boxing fan, knew a great deal about it. Austin Karp was outstanding in explaining it in complete detail. It was great in what he did. The ins and outs. And he did not frame this up as it would be disastrous, financially speaking. And I brought up a couple of different times the disposable income of fans. Because when you look at what it costs to get like $34 a month as the price tag normally for DAZN, nobody around here going to do that. Nobody. And then Kevin Bowen and I were having the dialogue together about, are there other things on there? Like all these other sites that you stream, you may end up finding things that you also enjoy, you also want to watch. They're also prioritized for you. In this case, unless you're a boxing fan or something like that, how many other uses will you have for DAZN? But $34 a month, if you look at the pricing for it, monthly pricing, annual pricing, that would be something that absolutely would have to change. Now, you can make no mistake about that. All right, Zach Osterman joins us coming up on the show tomorrow. Zach is going to be in Chicago. Kurt Signetti will meet with the media coming up tomorrow. Barry Odom of Purdue, their head coach, a little bit earlier today, met with the media up in Chicago, and we've talked about all that. Pete Nakos was awesome yesterday. He is going to be a staple on our college football coverage moving forward, no doubt about that. And also had you covered on a variety of situations. As I mentioned, Austin Karp of the Sports Business Journal a little bit earlier today, that podcast at 1075thefan.com. Pat Boylan from, I believe they were in Portland, and getting set for the Fire and the Fever coming up on Friday night. Last night was impressive. If you stayed up to watch the Fever and the Storm, impressive. Even against a really bad team like the Storm are. Fever and Fire coming up on Friday night, 9:30 pregame, 10 p.m. your coverage right here on the Fan. They wrap up that 3-game road trip after the All-Star break in Minnesota coming up on Sunday afternoon. 1 o'clock is that tip time. Pat Boylan a little bit earlier as well. And a shout-out to Michael Penrose, the AD of Lawrence North, was awesome. Celebrating 30 years of the MIC. Great documentary that he was a part of as well. Michael, thank you very much. Thank you, Caleb. Let's go hoop. Thank you all for listening. Back right here coming up once again tomorrow. 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. Fever Weekly comes up after your Colts update.